Man, I am still feeling so blue after last week. Really blue after what happened with Blue Origin. Wait, you're telling me there's a chance they might fly again this year? Starting to feel less blue. Roll the intro.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did you just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalizer.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.
Welcome everybody to the Flame Trench. This is our weekly show where we discuss some of the major things happening in spaceflight that we find interesting and have a little fun talking about it. And yes, starting off with the pun right from the very beginning, I'm wearing my pun shirt with the whole talking about us again. Shocking. That's what kind of a day it's going to be today, folks. So stick along for the ride. I can already see my confident cohort of co-hosts shaking their head and mouthing things the entire time while that was going on. So now they can't hide behind these little boxes on our back screen. Let's start putting them on the big screen and introducing them. Joining me today is EJ. How's it going, EJ?
Oh, I mean, hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Not so blue anymore. Feeling good now. How about you?
Deep. I'm all right. I'm fine. Everything's good.
Okay, good. Otherwise, I was going to have to go start listening to Deep Purple if I kept going any further with the saturation.
I wouldn't, I'd be okay with that. Space Truckin' is a great song.
It is
and,
true.
and applicable
Uh,
to the topics today.
Very true. Also joining us is Max. How's it going, Max?
It's always a good day having to listen to all your puns, Sawyer. Always a great time.
Wow,
no,
I've never heard of anything less serious than that. Enjoying listening to my puns.
I saw you were doing that before we went live, and I was like, he's not going to do that, is he? He's not going to do that. Oh my God, he's doing it. Okay, just bite your tongue. But no, hello everybody. Happy Friday. It is Friday already, isn't it? Golly, but there is certainly a lot to talk about this week.
Absolutely. Yes, I had to make sure I screenshotted my settings so that when we came to the actual show, my white balance was correct for everything. But I think we're good now. And we're also good because we are in the competent hands of Kevin Michael Reed, pushing the buttons and pulling the levers, producing today's stream. As always, if you have questions, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as we can. As always, we just ask that you try and keep it in line with what we are currently discussing, what the active topic is. So yeah, that's all we ask. We always get to Starship, the exception of last week. We always get to Starship. We will get to Starship, so save your Starship questions for the Starship section, please. All right, let's get started here with something a little bit more serious. The ISS today had some breaking news in that that leak that was kind of breaking, potentially was breaking more. Whatever it was, the Bethany Stevens, who's the head of the NASA public affairs side and the communications department there, mentioning that at one point this morning there was an event going on the Russian side of the space station, and in doing so, they forced the Crew 12 members to go inside their Dragon spacecraft in what is known as safe haven procedures. That is, in the event that something is going wrong, and something happens that no matter what, the crew can close up the hatch of their Dragon capsule and get away safely if for some reason the ISS becomes uninhabitable or if there's a leak or something along those lines. So this was the post that you see here. This is, of course, related to those leaks that we've talked about in one of those connector ways over by Zvezda on the Russian side of the space station. Apparently they went to do these more extensive repairs, of which they have not specified outright yet what those extensive repairs were, and whether it was because of the repair method, because of the repair causing a greater leak flow. Whatever the case was, they haven't outright said, this is exactly why we know that they had to put them into Dragon. However, after a couple hours, everything seemed to be okay. The Russians appear to have paused their work to quote unquote get more data, and as a result, the crew was then able to leave the Dragon capsule. That was the one that brought Crew 12 up. In the statement, it does say that Crew 12 went inside the capsule. We haven't heard outright if that also included Andrei Fedyaev of the Roscosmos, who flew up on Crew 12 Dragon. But we do know that Chris Williams, the American who launched on Soyuz, was also inside that capsule during the safe haven procedures, and that when it came time for the crew to return back to the ISS and get back to normal operations, we heard through some of the communications basically that they were on their own, reopening the hatches and everything, and that their counterparts, as they put it, aka the Russian side, really wasn't helping out with getting everything back in order on the American side. Of course, this is a little concerning. We've known about the leak for years. The Office of the Inspector General has put out multiple reports saying there are concerns with it, but to the point where it caused the crew to go into safe haven mode basically and take shelter inside Dragon, that seems a little bit scary. I mean, what could Roscosmos have been doing at that point that really would cause so much concern and force something like this? Because we haven't had one of these in a while. What do you guys think?
I don't know if I would be so much as I wouldn't be as concerned as to what they were doing as what appeared to be lack of communication between the two. That's what kind of gets me. And also, again, like you were just saying, sorry, with Chris having flown in Soyuz, does that mean they fit 5 in Dragon somehow, or did they exclude Andre from the safe haven mode in Dragon? Just a bunch of questions to raise from this. But the most unsurprising part about this, though, is that obviously the station is near enough over 40 years old now. So no, 40 years old. No, I can't do math. It's but 25 years old or so. It's old, and it's only getting older, and the hardware is only going to deteriorate more, whether you were on the U.S. segment or the Russian segment. So repairs are going to have to keep happening, whether it be on there or on. I know there are some troublesome spots on the U.S. segment as well. Obviously, not to that extent. But the ISS is only going to get older and only more troublesome as the years go by. Whether or not we will have a replacement ready by 2031 thereabouts, remains to be seen. But what startles me most about this whole situation is the apparent lack of communication between NASA and Roscosmos. That's what kind of makes me a little bit uneasy.
I mean, yeah, you're technically not wrong. I mean, parts of the ISS go back 40 years at this point because
Yeah.
it goes back to Space Station Freedom, which was back in the 80s. So a lot of that hardware started in the 80s and 90s, even though the ISS has been flying for 25 years, with the first parts at least being put together right around the turn of the millennium. So
Yep.
it's old as is, then add in even older parts. And I mean,
Guys,
they always
hold
talk
up.
about deorbiting the ISS and bringing it down, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't have a replacement ready yet, so we're going to keep extending the life.
Yeah, old doesn't even begin to cut it. The Zvezda module is 45 years old, guys. It was built for the Mir 2 space station by the Soviets. How many people here even know what the Soviet Union is? Like, if you're younger,
Yeah.
you probably have no idea what that means. Right? Like, old doesn't even put a number on it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and not only is it old, but the module that's leaking, the PRK module attached to the aft end of Zvezda, Zvezda is what's called a DOS module. The Russians call it a DOS. It's a durable orbital station. That's what it's called. The DOS modules can trace their roots back to the early Russian Salyut program, which was a space station program, and then the Almaz space stations too, which is when the Soviets tried to put a cannon on a space station. It figured out it didn't end. That doesn't really work. I mean, it kind of works, but anyway, that's getting into the weeds here. The point is that those original DOS modules. So Zvezda is DOS 9. There were 7 Salyut stations, right? And then the 8th Salyut, the 8th DOS module, was used for Mir, and Zvezda was supposed to be used for Mir 2, right? And then it became the ISS after the Soviet Union collapsed. These modules are not only are they old, but they're not really designed to be on orbit for this long. Zvezda has been on orbit for as long as the prior 8 DOS modules combined. Like, it's been up there for longer than 8 of its predecessors. These Salyut stations and these DOS modules were not really designed to be up there that long. The other thing to take into account is that Zvezda is your propulsion segment. That's your power and propulsion, or your propulsion element to the ISS. It's your service module. And how they usually boost or move the ISS around is by attaching a progress capsule to the back. Now, if it was just moving around the module, you fire the progress capsule's engine. It's no problem moving a DOS module around, which is basically what it was originally designed to do. But it's not just that. It has Zarya in front of it, and then it has the USOS in front of that, totaling 400 tons of space station in front of it. I'm not entirely sure that I'd say for that docking port to be, that docking port and vestibule at the back of Zvezda being that old and lasting for this long is kind of a testament to the design, if anything. I mean, leaks are bad. Leaks do happen on the space station. It's a thing. Not a lot of people know that. The space station leaks. It's the leak rate that's like, okay, you should probably think about this. Like, because to a point, your life support systems won't be able to keep up with it.
Yep.
Keep up with the leak flow rate. But yeah, like, old doesn't even like, that's not even like, yeah, it's old. No. It's not old. Think about it like this. Zvezda was manufactured in the Soviet Union. It's 45 years old. It's almost a half century old, and it's been up there for 26 years. It was launched in 2000. Old doesn't even cut it, man. That thing is very old.
Wait, how old
Are
is
you calling
Kevin?
me old?
I was gonna say,
Uh-oh.
how old is Kevin?
No, Kevin, you're not old. You just have high mileage.
Kevin's a spring chicken by comparison.
Now the question is, does Kevin leak?
Oh,
I regret asking that as I
I'm
said it.
going to decline to answer that question.
No, yeah, me too.
Anyway, this is an interesting thing that I pointed out to try and quickly change topics here. So in terms of the data, we don't have any publicly available data from the Russian side of things, but there are monitors on the US side in terms of pressure. And you'll notice there's a big giant dip that kind of goes down as we scroll down a little bit towards the chart there. Yeah, you can see the dip, obviously. It's noticeable compared to the rest of it, but you see it does leak a little bit here and there, here and there. But keep in mind, this is in, what is that, thousandths of a PSI?
Yeah.
So that drop there from 0.586 to 0.58. So that is 6/1000th of a PSI. So we're not talking a huge drop. It's definitely noticeable, but we're not talking, oh my gosh, it's like this catastrophic decompression that's going to cause major concerns or everything. So it's still noticeable, but not as noticeable as you would think.
That's talking about pressure though.
Right.
Not leak rate. Pressure is not rate. Like that's the difference. And this is something that I kind of wanted to say. I was saying it a little bit earlier over on my end, Sawyer, like on the Twitch stream. Like the space station leaks. It happens. Everything leaks to an extent. Think of it like a ship or a naval vessel with like they're always going to take on water. That's why they have a bilge pump. Now there's no bilge pump on the ISS per se, but yeah, ships always take on a certain amount of water. They just dump it overboard. Space stations leak. It's a thing. It's just kind of inherent to the thermodynamics of space. Like, you have expansions and contractions. You're always going to leak a little bit. But this right here, or no, it's over here. This over here is just a pressure indicator. That's not necessarily indicative of leak rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, this is all just preliminary data. We don't know what they were actually doing over there other than repairs. And yeah, I think it was Max, you put it perfectly. The issue here is that's a big communications thing of, oh yes, we as Russians, we're going to fix something on our side of station. Yes, don't worry about the leak. Wait, you're going to fix what? Leak? We know there's an active leak there, but maybe what they're doing could exacerbate it? Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
Well, it's just
Although
like
in Soviet Russia, station leak you.
God. I mean, the station isn't this perfectly rigid structure. There is some flexibility in its design, whether it's under load via gravitational forces, as minor as that may be, or under thrust, whenever they have to raise the orbit of the space station or change its orientation. And also on that, if you're doing any work on the surface of any of the modules, you are inherently putting loads of sorts into whatever parts of the station you're working on. Now, however that propagates elsewhere in the station depends on where you are and what exactly you're doing. But I don't think that's so much the issue. If the Russians have to perform a somewhat sizable repair on a very old piece of hardware relative to others on the space station and elsewhere, I think it matters more that you communicate that to whoever else is going to be, who may be affected if things go wrong, than the actual nature of the work itself, so everyone is prepared and not caught off guard. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I mean, I sound like a broken record right now. I think whatever seemed to have happened, there looked to have been or seemed to have been some sort of either miscommunication or lack of comms between the two entities about what was taking place. So, and also without any actual data, available data from onboard the space station, either with audio or footage, it's hard to say what exactly transpired there between which crew members went where. So, and again, also the wording there with astronaut Chris Williams seeming to enter Dragon in the safe haven mode. Again, does that mean we had 5 people in Dragon or 4? And did NASA exclude Andre from that? The wording there seemed to indicate crew 12, which would seem to include Andre, but they also included Chris in that as well. So a lot of questions here. And that's what's the most startling is that we have this many questions about something that is, for better or worse, preparation for a worst case scenario in having to undock and come home rapidly if something goes wrong. So I have a lot more questions than I otherwise would have with a situation like this, with the lack of comms from I guess it seems like Roscosmos from the report so far.
Yeah, and that image you see there, the top 4 are the ones that are on Crew Dragon, the bottom 3 are the ones on Soyuz.
Yep.
So it's interesting, and also again, all the headlines you probably saw, evacuating the ISS. There's a difference between actually evacuating the station and just going into the safety module. This also happens if there's any debris that's going to get very close to the station, any of the micrometeoroid or other orbital junk going by. They will go into these safe haven modes as well. And obviously, we haven't had them evacuate yet. In fact, we only ever had our first medical evacuation in the ISS history just recently. So it's not anything to worry about in that sense, at least.
Yep.
By the way, I do want to also thank our ISS camera partner, Sen, when they're not in a blackout because of, just comms with the ISS, getting to see some cool views of the station. Again, in blackout currently, but yes. Or night, there you go. As it says there, live night. Resistojet was wondering, how much worse does the leak have to get before they would evacuate? Is there a contingency plan if there needs to be a partial shutdown of some sections? What do you think, EJ?
The contingency plan is get in the capsule and close the door.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they can resupply the station with more consumables. That's a thing. But remember, it's like if your leak rate outpaces your interval between consumable resupply, then yeah, it's not like all the air is just going to be like it's going to pop like a balloon and then we're going to be screwed. Like the contingency is, well, you're going to be able to see. You're going to be able to see that you're not going to have enough to bridge the next supply mission. But even at that point, the contingency is just send up the supply mission earlier, but that can screw with ISS logistics, right? It's a whole balancing act. I mean, like they'll probably, they probably change a resupply vessel before they would, get people out of there. But NASA has shown in the past, albeit for different reasons, that they're not unwilling to bring a crew down early if need be. I mean, consider the medical issue on Crew 11 and them coming home 2 weeks early, like the crew coming home 2 weeks early. I mean, it happens.
Yeah. And it also seems like of late, though, there's been less of a ISS, I don't know how to word it, supply interest. Like, we've seen the crew rotations go from 6 months to 8 months with Dragon as it nears the end of the ISS lifespan. I mean, sure, we've had new, vehicles come in like HTV-X for resupply, and we just had a bunch of resupplies with Northrop Grumman Cygnus and then with Cargo Dragon just about a month ago. But it seems like all of that is kind of cutting back and trying to put as little into the station as they need to keep it going while knowing that the end of its lifespan is supposed to be in the next couple of years, 4 to 6, depending on what they end up doing funding-wise.
Yeah, because I mean, it's almost like the station is this living, breathing thing where you have you have pressurization cycles between having to depress, like the airlock, for example, to bring astronauts in and out during spacewalks, both on the Russian side and on the U.S. side. And obviously, you have thermal cycling every 90 minutes, because of course, every 90 minutes you come in and out of sunlight, where there is a temperature differential of around 600 degrees Fahrenheit between in sun and not in sun. And when you are in sun, It's not like the entire station is in sun at that point. There are still parts of the station that are in shadow and thus at much colder temperatures. And so you have all of this constant thermal cycling happening all the time. So the station is constantly under load and under, I don't know if wear is the right word, but it's constantly undergoing loads of sorts. And the fact that it's lasted as long as it has, as well as it has, given the issues that we have or haven't seen so far, is kind of like with the Zvezda modules aft segment there, being in orbit for as long as it has, well, while only suffering as little issue as it has, being a testament to its engineering might. So yeah, at this point, it's getting more and more difficult to defend the station, though, because again, it is getting older. The hardware is aging, and I think the aging is only speeding up exponentially as the materials begin to get what's the word I'm thinking of? Materialistic. No, either way, um,
It's material fatigue, dude. It's
that
aluminum. The
that
aluminum going through
yes,
pressure cycles is going to crack. Ask any
yes.
ANP this.
Thank you. Like that's what I was trying to find. But it's like 2031 cannot come soon enough, it seems like, in terms of finding a a worthy ISS replacement and just trying to get something else up in orbit or beyond. The ISS has oh boy, it's becoming that. Nah, maybe calling it a problem child isn't fair or too way too harsh. It probably is too harsh. But it is requiring a lot more attention as of late.
Well, it's kind of getting like your, grandparents who are still functional enough that you can't really put them in a home yet, but at the same time, you also have to keep an eye on them all the time and keep checking on them to make sure they don't fall. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but that's the first thing that came to mind.
I mean, 25 years in orbit is a very long time for any piece of aerospace hardware. Like, that is a very long time, especially under pressure like that, to support people. Hubble has been in orbit for much longer than that, mind you, and it's still, I was about to say doing just fine, but obviously it's had its issues, mostly with its gyros. But again,
Hubble isn't pressurized though.
I was just gonna say, but it's not pressurized. It meant to support people, but it's just differing pieces of spaceflight hardware being in orbit for that long, being in the sun and being in orbit in those massive temperature differential state, and also being subject to micrometeorite debris and strikes, can wreak havoc on any spaceflight hardware up in orbit and beyond.
So
I say dump it. Dump
Wait,
it.
just what? Just what?
Dump it.
Oh,
Dump
boy.
it. Get rid of it.
ooh.
That's feisty.
Okay. Yeah, it's feisty in that it would suck losing our record for keeping people, like, for continuous human presence up on orbit, but also at the same time there are commercial stations on the horizon. It's possible. I mean, I don't think they're going to be ready in time by the time the ISS is done, and those aren't my words. Those are Dana Weigel's words from the Ignition presentation. She runs the ISS program. But at one point, is that continuous human presence thing like a detriment, right? Look, the leaks haven't been happening a lot, but these modules, look, they serve their purpose. And honestly, if I was going to propose a solution here, I think NASA should probably take those EUS test articles that they just got rid of and maybe make that into a space station, make it into a dry workshop, and then build Skylab 2, and then just send commercial crew to that, and then make it so you could attach commercial modules to the sides or something. It's just, this thing is the problems are only going to get more and more. And the ISS, because it is a big, ridiculous, complicated station that was built over 35 assembly flights by a space shuttle. If you really want my honest opinion, it needs a space shuttle to maintain it. But, hey, whatever. That's just the spicy rant that I don't think anybody's ready to. That's a conversation I don't think anybody's ready to have. Guys, it served its purpose. The purpose is to learn how to live and work in space. I think we've proven that out really well. And I think the Artemis 2 mission is a pretty dang good example of us proving that we know what to do. Maybe get, like another Skylab style station. Maybe use an SLS to launch one. Maybe use New Glenn, but use New Glenn in the future, or make Starship's payload bay into a pressurized segment and do a long duration space lab that you send capsules to. So you know what I'm talking about, Space Lab and Space Hab.
Oh yeah,
where they took the
used to
shuttle
ride in the back of shuttle in the payload bay.
Yep. Do that with Starship, but no people on board, and then send commercial crew up on Dragon and Starliner to that thing.
That would be pretty epic.
Like
Send
there
Starliner somewhere. You're funny.
there are alternatives here, and I think it's probably about time to. Well, I mean, the right time to pursue these alternatives was 5 years ago, but hey, whatever.
It's just it's unfortunate that either commercial replacements are not ready yet, being like Haven 1 or Haven 2 or the station modules from Axiom. They're not ready yet. They're obviously not in orbit. And it would be a lot easier to just dump the ISS if those were ready, right? But they're not. And that's the unfortunate part of the unfortunate part of our situation.
Well, the thing is that with the Axiom modules, they were supposed to be up there in 2022.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be detaching their space station, the AX-1 station, by now. Like they were supposed to be, the station was supposed to be complete. So, I mean, I'm noticing a pattern here that I don't think people want to admit. Say it. Commercial low Earth orbit destinations, which is a different program than Axiom, to be quite fair. Commercial low Earth orbit destinations, the Axiom station, Starship HLS, Blue Moon Mark II. The pattern is that commercial is not very punctual with getting these contracts done when they say they're going to get them done. I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth.
Yeah, remember that other module that we were going to attach to it and then it was going to branch off that NASA just talked about and NASA just canceled? Yeah, that too.
Wait, they canceled the core module?
Didn't they cancel the core module?
I don't know. I thought that was only a whisper.
I thought I saw somewhere that they did. I don't know if it was just a whisper or not, but even if they do, I don't know. Chad, I'm sure will come in if I did, but.
Oh dear. Canceling that core module right now. I mean, so that tells me two things. One, somebody responded to their RFI to build a commercially operated space station, which, okay. Or Dana Weigel in her ignition presentation was right, and there is really no market for using the public-private model for a low Earth orbit space station. There's no profitable commercial model for doing that, which I really hope it's not that. But once again, I don't. The purpose of a low Earth orbit space station, the fruits of that labor, it doesn't have to be the ISS that's 400 tons and a bajillion freaking pieces. A new NASA space station could be something like Skylab, or even like the Salyut from the Soviet space program. Just something where you can A, train new astronauts to learn how to live and work in space, and B, do scientific research. That doesn't have to be a profitable venture, but the fruits of the labor are paid elsewhere in astronaut training and experience and scientific understanding, right? Like, NASA seems to think that you need a commercial model for a low Earth orbit space station. I would argue that you don't. It's not, NASA is not. Since when is NASA about making money, right? Like a space station, just like a moon base, is one of those things that you're not. The profitability in commercialization is the getting things there and having them make things for that base to be used or for that space station to be used. The operations on the space station itself are not, in the scientific research, is not necessarily profitable, right? But I would argue with NASA, it doesn't need to be, So what I'm trying to say is build something like Skylab, shoot it off on SLS, have a Dragon and Starliner go and send people to it. Like
Starliner. By the way, here's your answer, EJ. Yeah, it's dead.
This is from Eric Berger here. What is this? NASA proposal to create a government-led core module to assist commercial space stations appears to be dead. Most of the CLD vendors will celebrate this.
And also we had Bethany Stevens stating, here you could see the larger response, who's again head of public affairs for NASA.
Got to read it in a sec.
Yeah, in the spirit of learning from past programmatic challenges and ensuring responsible transition from the International Space Station, NASA evaluated both the current commercial space station approach and alternative pathways. Industry has provided extensive feedback, making the case for a sustainable commercial market in which NASA is one customer among many, along with assurances regarding available transportation capabilities. The industry position will now shape the path forward as NASA proceeds with the original commercial strategy.
So
Over the coming weeks, NASA will work with stakeholders and industry to redefine flexible requirements and acquisition plans with the draft RFP request for proposals expected later this month.
See, I think that's real funny, Sawyer. The industry position will now shape the path forward. So if that's the case, they're going to shape the path right into the ground because what industry? That industry doesn't exist except building things on the ground at this point. What does that even mean? Like, what are you talking about? What, oh, the industry will now shape the path forward. Okay. Because the industry has built a very successful commercial low Earth orbit economy. Question? Hello? Hello? Is this Domino's? I want a pizza. Like what's going on here?
No, it was Pizza Hut that sponsored the Soyuz, dude. Come on.
Oh yeah. Well, Proton.
That was the Proton.
Proton, sorry. Yeah, the Russian one.
This is what I'm talking about. NASA seems to take this position that it always needs to be about profit. It always needs to be about, no, it's not. In fact, your job is to not make it about profit. So trying to incessantly commercialize low Earth orbit destinations as a way to, pursue other endeavors is not addressing the problem at hand. The problem at hand is that you seem to not be able to allocate the cash to do both of these things at once or aren't getting the funding for it. So which one is it? Well, just say that. Just say that's what's going on. Like, we don't need a commercial space station. We don't, like NASA doesn't need that. Like if somebody wants to build a commercial space station like VAST, and I agree that I would say that Max Howard is doing an amazing job over at VAST, with the VAST, with the Haven 1 station, right? That's fine. That's great. But, why does a commercial low Earth space station need to be profitable? NASA, the fruits of that labor in training astronauts for beyond low Earth orbit missions would pay dividends in the long run if your plans are to explore the moon and go further. I'm just putting it out there. Like, if anything, that would pay for itself. Like, because you're not getting profit, you're paying for experience.
Yeah, that's like an internship, though. You're not getting paid, you're getting paid in experience.
Yeah, I would want all the experience I could get in space if I was going to the moon, Sawyer. I'm not going to lie to you.
Is 25 years of it not enough?
Now, see, that's a good question. I mean,
Just saying.
I think it's good enough for the current astronaut corps, right? But in the future, who knows?
Yeah. Again, that's for the future, but right now, the short-term future is ISS is, it's our only option. As dangerous as it can be, it's our only option. But I think the important thing for today is the astronauts are safe. Seemed to be a miscommunication with whatever Russia was going to do over there. Crews are all back to normal. When I was listening in earlier to the comms to see if there was anything more, they were just talking about some of the science experiments that Sophie Adeno was working on. So let me thank the people here, and then we'll continue on. Bideford. Hey, how's it going, Bideford? Here's hoping everyone is having a good day. Looking forward to the Flame Trench. Thank you, as always, for the generosity there. You sure you're still looking forward to it now after me going off the rails today, apparently, more so than usual? I'm already putting the ISS in a retirement home. Although I don't want to lose this view, which again is Sen, our ISS camera partner on the ISS. So good. Adrian, I don't know what's worse. Sawyer starting with a pun, or seeing EJ clean shaven?
Hey, man, I had a realization the other day, and the realization was that everybody that's, in their late 30s at this point is bald and has a beard. And you know what? I decided I didn't want to be part of that trend, okay? So,
wow.
We did some Don Draper stuff here, right? That's, I don't know. I'm like,
You say late 30s, and yet we have Max on, who is not in his 30s.
No, almost.
With the bald beard.
Okay,
I'm in my
mean.
late 20s and have a beard and no hair up top. But
Yeah, that's okay, because you're
I've been
not
bald
my
up
age.
top for almost a decade now. So,
And then you got me, who's in their early 30s. I guess it's still technically early 30s. Yeah, with the hair, and I trimmed my beard the other day. Anyway,
I just didn't want the aerodynamic up here. I wanted the aerodynamic right here, right? And it's summertime, dude. Max, you know good and well if it's humid, this thing gets to be a pain in the butt.
It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. I'll put it to you like that.
There you go.
Yep. Although, if it gets any older, EJ will start working on it in his garage. Um,
Oh,
Cyrus?
now that was just out of line, man.
Out of
Dang,
pocket.
dude.
Out of
He's not
pocket.
rusty.
Told you I'm spicy today. By the way, those who don't know, EJ does some work on cars in his garage over on his Twitch stream as well, in addition to other gaming and science news and stuff. So, gyroscopic procession with a $5 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com, saying this is what Friday nights are made for. My dad grew up in the USSR and remembers the Buran on the 9 o'clock news. Also, can we have an ad-free stream for members? Would make it worth it for me. Y'all are great. Keep doing what you do. I think that's a YouTube thing, not so much an us thing, but appreciate the tip there, and also going all the way back to the Buran days is pretty awesome. Let's see here. Leah getting a couple items from the shop, saying buying these for Dad's birthday. He has taught our daughter to look to space. Also, she can say cryogenic methalox and tell you what the two main components of methalox are, and she's 3.5 years old.
Yeah, baby.
Where are your toddler sizes?
Nice.
But
very
yeah,
good.
I mean, that's
the merch team.
that is so awesome. Parenting done right there. Just saying. And then Space Pope coming in saying, "Bless this trench, Space Pope. Always good to see you. Thank you so much for blessing this trench. We missed you. Always good to have you back here." And Bideford also saying with another $25 super chat saying, "Okay, EJ, you look very handsome without the face growth, but all of you are still handsome men. Shave, Max. Sawyer, keep the puns flying. And yes, I still love Flame Trench."
No.
Hey,
No.
I'll take that.
I will not shave. I'm keeping this around. I'm keeping this around for a while. I'm keeping this.
Nah, you can keep the beard until your late 30s.
I have a long way to go to get there, so that's a long time to keep this thing, but we'll see.
Dang youngin'.
Dang youngin'.
Oh my gosh. And then Juan doing my part to help EJ's hair transplant fund. I'm bald, man. Just accept it.
Nah.
This got
Nah, I'm
sad.
not gonna accept it. Nah, look at this. Look at that. Oh yeah. See that?
It's combed
Boom.
over. It's combed over because it's hiding something.
What?
What?
Oh.
I didn't hear it. My headset was off.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Go back and listen to it again. You'll hear it.
Go back and listen to it again. Yeah, all right. I'll
After
get
we're
right
done.
on that.
After we're done.
just
like,
said
go
you're-
ahead.
after
you're
we're
hi-
done.
You just said you're hiding something, that's all. By combing over, apparently.
It's not a comb
Wilbo
over. That's
saying bless the Space Pope. And Bernard, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Very much appreciate that. That's a great way to help support us and other people who might not get a chance to enjoy all the gifter memberships, or to enjoy the membership perks. Telling you, once you get in your 30s, man, you keep the hair but lose the brain cells. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Also, we know we want to talk about Starship. Starship Talk is indeed coming up. And so, as a reminder, you can still get the Starship merch over at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. We've got the patch, of course, as we talked about before. It's an awesome design. I love it. And again, once it's gone, it's gone. Ooh, that one used our old logo. But yeah, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. We still have some, and you can get all the other merch for all of your other people who are learning how to pronounce methalox as well. Even if you're in your 40s, you can still learn to pronounce methalox. And even if you're in your early 30s, you can still occasionally pronounce it wrong, like I do. So thank you very much for that. Now then, let's move away from the ISS leaking and go to something exploding instead. We got some updates now following the Blue Origin kaboom, as I've been calling it, that we had last week. Max, what's the updates?
Well, thankfully, we covered the kaboom part last week, and thankfully, this week we have some updates from the CEO of Blue Origin, Dave Limp, on the state of the launch pad and the hardware inside the hangar there. Good God, that explosion still gets me every time. I cannot believe how big that was. Good grief! It's
It's a
literally like
monster.
a small atom bomb going off. I have to pause every single time I watch it. Good grief!
It's about 5% of the yield of the Hiroshima, 5 to 10%, somewhere in there, with some rough napkin math.
Jesus.
If
Yeah.
for just Max, just in case anybody was wondering, if a nuke went off where New Glenn was, there'd be no pad left and probably a gigantic
Yes.
crater in the ground. Just
Yeah.
just for some reference here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can talk more about the numbers later because I talked to the Space Force, and spoiler alert, they didn't give an actual number of how big. But go ahead, Max.
So thankfully there isn't a big crater on the ground, and actually the state of the hardware on the ground, I don't want to say for the most part, but a lot of it is still in pretty good shape. So going down the list here, per CEO Dave Limp, the propellant farm is in good shape, and so was the water tower, although they are not sure when they are going to be able to use that again. That's why there is still some, I guess, some extensive repairs to happen there. The large lightning tower, the only one that's standing now, that had some pretty severe damage on the bottom of it, has been deemed repairable, and they are not going to be tearing that down or demolishing it, which is good news. Because that is a much more complex structure than the smaller lightning tower that was to the south, or on the south side of the launch mount. The flight hardware that was in the hangar, being New Glenn GS1 booster, never tell me the odds, and also apparently 3 other Glenn Stage 2 flight articles were also inside, appeared to be in good shape, again, according to CEO Dave Limp. But there have been photos posted on Blue's side of both him and CEO, or not CEO, but founder Jeff Bezos in the hangar looking over all the hardware, and same over on the launch mount as well. Looks kind of messy, but the fact that they have people over there walking around, and they appear to have crews on site for cleanup already, is a sign of things to come. But this last paragraph has a lot of juicy stuff in it. So I have confirmed. I will read it here from Dave Limp. I have seen some speculation that we might move directly to the 9x4 configuration, which we talked about last week, but we will not do that. Rate manufacturing of the 7x2 is going well, and we are going to continue at that pace as planned and store the stages for use. Where they're going to store those, I have no idea, because I don't know what facilities they have to hold those just in storage outside of construction. But that is anyway. In addition, we had already been working for some time on eliminating our transporter erector in favor of an alternative vertical conop, and we'll now go directly to that. So we don't need a new transporter erector. And also, bombshell at the very end, we will fly again before the end of the year. Greta Tim Ferocida. We are aiming to, we are trying to, we will fly by the end of the year. Now, whether or not they are going to, while also integrating all of these new, I guess, philosophies for how they want to fly New Glenn in the future, being doing away with the transporter erector in favor of vertical integration, it seems like, don't know how they're going to do that. That opens up a ton of questions as to what infrastructure they're going to either build or rebuild that they either had or didn't have before to support vertical integration. Are they going to build a fat tower over there and use chopsticks like we see at a certain launch facility in South Texas? Or are they going to integrate some kind of crane on a large tower? I don't know. That big question mark. But they are doing away with their transporter erector, and they're not going straight to New Glenn at 9x4. And just for some clarity, because there was some confusion last week, 7x2 is referring to the current iteration of New Glenn flying right now. 7 referring to the 7 BE4 engines on the first stage, and 2 referring to the 2 BE3Us on the second stage. And the 9x4 is 9 BE4 engines on the first stage and 4 BE3Us on the second stage. So 7x2 is the one that's currently flying. 9x4 is going to be stretched quite a bit and is nearly Starship size in terms of overall height and length. And width. Not quite width, but it's still an incredibly sizable rocket. But again, the certainty that Dave has said we will fly before the end of this year. Guys, given the fact of the damage that we have seen from the explosion, from our aerial photographs, and from the limited imagery that we have gotten from Blue to this point, do you think they're going to fly by the end of this year, especially considering the fact that they want to completely transform the way they want to integrate New Glenn on the launch pad?
Sorry, can I handle this?
I
can I
saw
do
your
that?
face
Another
already.
EJ
Go
rant?
for it.
Let's go, bring it.
All right. So first of all, it's a smug face.
Even more so without the facial hair.
It's a smug face.
Okay, Jeremy
Yeah.
Clarkson.
No, I said.
Try not to look smug. Try not to look smug.
Can't help it, Mike.
Impossible challenge
Yeah,
for EJ.
impossible.
I'm sorry.
Literally
Smug
impossible.
face. So yeah, we had a conversation in the last Flame Trench on what they're going to do.
Yep.
Now, and in that last conversation, I said they're going to keep going with 7x2 because their factory's tooled up, which proved to be right. And then I said it'll probably take about 12 to 16 months to get this pad redone. And everyone here laughed at me and said it was optimistic. Well, I mean, compared to actually the timeline that they're working with here, mine seems relatively sane. And I'm not sure what to think about that one. I'm just trying not to let that one keep me up at night. With that being said, Max, no. You see that tank right there? The tanks. Oh yeah, the tanks are in good shape, huh? You sure about that? You sure about that? Are you sure those tanks are in good shape? So
I think he was referring to the tank farm overall. I mean, there's undoubtedly, obviously, evidence right there of a single pretty damaged tank. But obviously, I think he was referring to the tank farm as a whole, not just.
What are you talking about? The tweet said he talked about the tanks. He specifically talked about the tanks being in good condition because they're long lead items.
And the propellant farm. He said the propellant farm, referring to the whole thing as well.
Also, remember Starship Flight 1? We saw tanks that were dented, but it was just the outer shell, not the inner shell. And we saw them use those tanks for Flight 2, even though they technically had damage on the exterior.
Yeah. Okay. If we could, Kevin, sorry to backseat produce. Can you zoom in on that tank again? Can you bring the zoom in? All right. Yeah. There's no doubt that the outer shell of this tank is dented, but you see that big black splotch on the right side of the dent? Yeah, that's definitely not the outer tank. Yeah, that's definitely not that. So for reference here, guys, these tanks are vacuum jacketed, so there's an inner tank and an outer tank. The inner tank's definitely hit. That's definitely hosed. Like, that tank's junk. Do not use that. Don't even try to like weld and reuse it. That's scrap. It will pop if you try to pressurize that thing. Even if you make a seemingly good repair there, it's just the tanks are pill shaped because they're pressurized and they have pressure pushing out on all sides. That dent fatigue the metal. The dent's going to fatigue the metal in a way that's going to make it so that the uniform load on the outside of the tank is different because there's fatigue in the metal. Don't use that. That tank's junk. I can say this with pretty dang good certainty. Dudes, look, I am optimistic about Blue reflying. Even I'm optimistic about Blue doing the whole vertical integration thing. I really wish they would build out 2 new Glenn pads, but he didn't really speak to that. There is another pad that they're working on to the north of this tank farm right there. But 6 months is, I don't think so. If you look at that shot of Jeff walking around on the pad, there is spalling in the concrete, like the Orion's heat shield, like the Artemis 1 heat shield. There's spalling in the reinforced concrete on the pad deck surface. That's all that concrete is junk. If you superheat concrete, it's going to make it porous and it'll make it crack and spall because air is expanding inside of the little air bubbles that essentially get caught inside of concrete. This is why you see a guy with like a weird like go-kart thing riding around on concrete trying to vibrate it to get all the air bubbles out. There's spalling on the concrete in the pictures that Blue Origin released themselves. It's all junk. And concrete is going to take some time to cure and reset, right? Especially for a launch pad like this. Now, in terms of actually doing vertical integration, they could use the breakover device that's at the port to get a new Glenn vertical. But what are you going to do with the second stage?
Yeah.
More importantly, what umbilicals are you going to hook up? You could use the tower. The tower's 100 feet away from the pad from the rocket. It's 100 feet away from where the rocket would be stacked if it's stacked in the same position as where it was on the transporter erector. There's a lot of ifs, and it could be done if the pad was not blown up in 6 months. I'd believe that. But the reality of the situation here is that the pad is a crater. Look, I know I was being optimistic. I'm optimistic if it's 12 to 18 or 12 to 16 months, not 6. That's
I don't know if I don't know.
I don't know what pad he's looking at. It's clearly
I
not
don't
the
know
same
if
as
I would.
me.
Yeah, this is live, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree with it, the pad's a crater, because it's not a crater. It's just it's not in good shape, but it's not a crater.
Bro,
But
it's absolutely a crater. The pad deck collapsed into the flame trench. It's a crater. There's nothing left there.
I mean, yes, but
Ding, ding.
that's what.
I said ding ding.
So the launch mount was already above ground, and for that to collapse, I wouldn't. That this is complete technicality. It's just my OCD going off. But regardless, that's not a worthy point to argue. But I think what's good to see in this picture here is that they have actually opened one of the western-facing doors on the hangar there at Launch Complex 36 for the first time since around the time of the explosion. I would think it was just over a week ago now. So crews obviously over there doing a lot of work. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to clean up the whole area. Obviously, the quicker that they can get it cleaned up, the quicker that they can rebuild and implement whatever hardware and anything else that they want to build over there to support vertical integration. But I can't get my head around how they want to vertically integrate. I don't know. Like, how are they where? Where are you going to put? Are you going to put a tower over there? Are you going to build just separate cranes to lift the stages up? I don't know how they're going to plan on doing that. If they were starting from scratch with a brand new pad, it's a lot easier to see how they could possibly implement that. But yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, I'm more on the page or more on the side of EJ with before the end of the year is wildly optimistic. Like, I'm not ruling it out completely, but I'm like 95.5 that they will not fly before the end of this year. They'll probably have the flight hardware for it, but the pad, whether the pad will be ready to support it yet or not, I really don't think so.
I mean, yeah, here's my thought though with this. I mean, they have the fixture that they use over at the port to raise or to lower
Breakover device.
the booster down after it comes off Jacqueline. They have a similar one that they use, a smaller version, if I remember rightly, for GS2 testing that they have over on their little second stage static fire stand that they can raise that vertical. I don't know if something like that is possible. And the other thing I noticed from the photo that was in that X post was that never tell me the odds. Is that what the other one was? The booster that previously flew?
Yeah.
Looked
in the
pretty
hangar.
good. It was still there. You could still see most of the engines from that engine facing shot at least. So I think the fact that if they have that already functioning, it sounds like they have stuff in the pipeline in terms of new boosters that are in work over at Exploration Park, hopefully on the sooner side. I genuinely think it is possible. I could see them maybe not using the tank farm to its full capacity, which, might just make it so that rather than being able to do a turnaround in 24 or 48 hours, that it becomes a 72-hour turnaround if they have to stand down and they fully fuel the vehicle, or they get less time that they can hold fully fueled prior to liftoff because of the amount of commodities. But I think it's still possible. And there's a poll in chat right now for it. So we'll see. I mean, yes, Dave is being very optimistic, and I think he kind of has to be, given that they need NASA to still be supporting them. They have all the NASA contracts to be like, look, this is how committed we are. We are going to fly again by the end of the year. So I don't think it's impossible. I think it's somewhat likely. I'm just intrigued how they're going to actually do the upending, as they
Yeah.
used to call it, to roll out vertically. And I do want to point out, I see people were talking about the confidence that they were having in those tanks and that Dave has in the tank farm. Yeah, I mean, I would think that Dave would think that Max's hair condition is in good shape as well.
Hey, hey,
How much hair do you have?
a lot down here. Can you do your Mark One
I was
eyeballs
talking about
work,
on the
Sawyer?
head, though.
This is on my head. Thank you very much. Jesus.
Yeah, no, he would say EJ's then is in good shape too.
Yeah, but EJ has a 5 head, not a 4 head.
Sorry, I've been waiting to make that joke. It's been holding him back, but I actually had to give up my real thoughts first.
Yeah, I wonder how long you've had that in the chamber, Sawyer.
You don't want to know.
I don't want to know. Don't answer that. Don't answer that.
So, fellas, real quick, if we pull up those pictures of Jeff walking around on the pad,
Mhm.
You can see on the picture that he's outside, there is a chunk of concrete missing in the shot, and it's not there because something hit it and it cracked. It's spalled. I think that's really important to understand here. Like, it's not just clean the pad deck surface off and bring that breakover device in and then I don't know what you do, like pull the second stage and the first stage up in one shot with the breakover device. Like, but see the bottom, it's the bottom right corner. I said in the back channel.
Oh, I
left.
see now.
See that over there, that mark
yeah.
in the ground? If you zoom in and looked at that, because that's what I did on my stream, it's a spall mark, like the heat shield, like Orion's heat shield. Same thing, which means it means pyrolysis, right? Just like the heat shield, and that chunk was liberated from the backside. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. So like, sorry, I don't have a better way to say that. Like, that means that whole pad surface got superheated, obviously from that big, really,
Fire's
really
hot?
hot explosion, right? Like, this isn't
Fireball's hot.
Yeah, you're gonna have to recast all that concrete, because it's gonna have heavy stuff sitting on top of it. If the concrete is spalled on the surface, it may have, it's porous and it could have cracks everywhere inside of it. You could go to roll like a vehicle up that thing and it could just fall in, like, or at least sink a little, like crack the concrete a little bit. But yeah, that's the. I don't know, fellas. Like, I don't know if I'm actually kind of wondering why switch New Glenn to vertical integration. Like, why do that? But I mean, if the pad deck was intact, right, and there wasn't a big hole where the rocket should be, that's not the one that goes down into the flame trench. This one goes just down to the ground. And keep in mind, that's speculation. I don't know that for sure, but I mean, did you guys see that explosion? Did you
No.
see that?
What happened?
It was big, right? You could probably use the breakover device and get a stacked vertical first and second stage, put that on there, and then make a second stage swing arm like Delta 4 or SLS style from the tower. But the tower is a good bit away, so Sawyer, it'd end up looking like the ground umbilical carrier plate on the shuttle. Like, have that service structure like sticking off of the fixed service structure, and then the umbilical. It would look like that.
Yep. I mean, as much as that thing annoys the heck out of me, it actually is a good design when it works. But yeah,
So
it would have to look like that.
So to go back to the original question you asked there, EJ, is why would they move New Glenn into vertical integration?
Yeah, still not really understanding why.
I mean, so 7x2 obviously does not need that. They had a very good functioning transporter erector to support it coming out of the hangar and then going over to the pad and lifting it vertical. I don't know if it would be practical to build a TE to support the vehicle or a vehicle the size of a 9x4 variant of New Glenn, though.
Well, yeah, that's obvious, but
right, but
7x2.
If they're planning on using the same, if they're planning on rebuilding this current pad to support both variants at some point in the future, maybe they believe it's a wiser decision to engineer a system to support vertical integration on both and not have to deal with the back and forth of using a TE for one and using cranes or something for the other. But the more I think about vertical integration, is like, where are they going to put that tower? Because they obviously they cannot block that ramp coming up to the pad. Are they going to have it engineered something like pad 39B with the mobile launcher on top of it, with the trench coming under the ML or whatever structure they have the rocket sitting on?
Do you
I don't
know
know.
why they built part of the reason that drove that design decision for 39A and B to be clean pads with the
Tell
mobile
me.
launcher on top of them
Tell me.
and a gigantic blast detonation area? Is because if one of the Saturn, they were worried about the Saturn V doing that, and if one of them did, they could just pick up the mobile launcher and move it off the pad, and then put another one on there. That's also the reason why they built two. I'm just putting it out there, man. So that's not the craziest idea.
You know what though, dude? Like, you know what? I've been kind of thinking about this, and I admit I've lost some sleep over this idea because it makes no practical sense when you first think about it. But what's that over your left shoulder there, EJ?
I know where you're going with this, and that, my dude, that is mobile launcher too.
And what could that potentially be good for? Now
9x4.
So
yeah,
I wonder if there's a reality where Blue either manages to score some usership either of LC39B, or they take Mobile Launcher 2, break it down, and transport it over to Pad 36 and reassemble at least the tower segment over there.
Wait, what was that last part?
You break Mobile Launcher 2 back down into its original tower segments that they used to transport it over there and rebuild it over at Launch Complex 36. That's why I said it doesn't make practical sense when you first think about it. But if you
can't take the mobile launcher all the way over to 36.
No,
Max, I'm thinking about it, and it still doesn't make sense, man.
If you can find a way to disassemble the actual tower itself, the segments, and move them over to LC39 or LC, LC36.
Yeah, it's LC.
Yeah, at LC36, restack those tower segments and build on top of that. You could, in theory, have a tower that supports both a 7x2 and 9x4 variant of New Glenn. You would
so
have
basically, they're already starting to take parts of it off. So take the parts that are being removed as they remove it over to 36, and rather than have it be something that has to be moved on a mobile launcher or something crazy like that, you can use it as just pad infrastructure.
Exactly. Just keep it there as permanent infrastructure.
That's a bad idea, guys. Let's go back to 39B. I mean, it's used like once every 3 years. I know they're going to launch again, but 39B is great for camera views, but also, like, you're right. It's right there. I mean, Max, you said that. You said that in your interview with Jared. It's right there.
It's right there. And Pad B is right there.
Where's Pad B? There it is.
Like, as far as I'm aware, High Bay 1 is still not being used for anything else in the VAB beyond just like random hardware storage. I wonder, like, obviously option B was the way more adventurous idea in transporting part of ML2, or at least the tower of ML2 over to Pad 36. But the far more practical method of launching 9x4 and potentially 7x2 variants of New Glenn would be, or with ML2, is to have them vertically integrated in High Bay 1 in the VAB and roll them out to Launch Complex 39B and launch from there. How cool would that be?
I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't want that. I think at this point, NASA wouldn't risk their only pad to send people to the moon on Blue Origin stuff. But I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say I don't want to see that. That's a good idea.
What do you mean? Blue has a great record of not blowing things up.
Yeah. I'm picking up your sarcasm.
Yeah.
But EJ, but to counter that as well, if they use Mobile Launcher 2, you said it was designed and engineered so that if a Saturn V went kaboom, they could just pick up the ML and do whatever minor rebuilds they had to redo on the pad and recycle and do it again, or try again.
I am not sure that the NASA of contemporary is less risk adverse as the NASA from the 1960s, but yeah, that's a good point, I suppose.
But dude,
Also,
I mean, you have to.
We're not going to talk about the repairs needed after Artemis 1 with the same kind of idea. They both had to fix the mobile launch structure and the fixed hardware stuff after all the damage from it.
I mean,
yeah, but
Max,
New Glenn,
go ahead.
Even the 9x4 variant of New Glenn is not really is not as powerful as SLS with the SRBs. It's not going to be as it's not going to wear on the pad the same way SLS would, despite it producing less thrust and having a much lower thrust to weight ratio, and probably sticking around on the pad for a lot longer than SLS would. But it's hardware that's used once every roughly 3 years now, unless they are able to pick up the cadence like they want to. That's just an open pad sitting there, and that's an empty, unused mobile launcher sitting right there. That's hardware right there that they could find some use for and not spend 5, 10, 15 years trying to engineer some solution around a rocket that, as far as we can tell, does not exist yet. So it's just one idea.
I would argue that the EUS is probably, and I did argue this last flame trench that if the EUS hadn't been canceled, that's probably a more viable pathway towards getting 39B to be used more than New Glenn at this point. But whatever, just personal opinion.
I really don't want to go back into the EUS discussion with you again, EJ. I love you, but I don't.
Dude, actually, no. Actually, towards the end of that flame trench, okay, so we had that discussion, and then I sat there and I was starting to think about it. And, I actually did change my mind on that, Max, to be honest with you, but it's not to what you think.
Okay.
I think a good solution here would be to take a New Glenn second stage, shorten it, maybe half the amount, still keep the B3Us, and put that on SLS Block 1B instead of an EUS at this point. Jared's always looking for better solutions. And right now, one of the biggest problems that NASA and the Artemis program is facing is that they don't have high tonnage on high energy orbits to translunar injection. Basically, we can move an Orion out to the moon with SLS Block 1. And then, with Starship, you need refueling. With, 9x4, you could potentially mitigate that problem. But 9x4 is still way out on the horizon. If you took New Glenn second stage, right? Cut it down, which I'll admit, cutting a stage down is going to take some analysis, but it's not as much as you might think. Look at ULA with the LEO optimized Centaur versus the GTO optimized Centaur.
Significantly shorter. Yeah.
Longitudinal changes in tank design is not like long axis, making it bigger and longer is not. It's relatively low hanging fruit in terms of rocket variable characteristics that's easy to change.
Yeah.
Look at Falcon 9 1.0 to 1.1.
Yep.
So you have Blue take a GS2, cut it down so it fits inside of the VAB, and then you just put your Mark II lander on that. It'll send it out there in one shot. Easily send it out there in one shot.
But then you have the bottleneck of core stage and SRB segment production as well to deal with and combat with, and also pick up the schedule to support that.
The bottleneck could be figured out in the 12 to 18 months that it's going to take to get New Glenn up and running. But I've always said a direct path to the moon from with a single launch architecture is honestly, it's a safety concern at this point. Consider a lunar base in the future, right? And something goes wrong and you need to get something out there, right? What's the quickest way? High energy transfer, a high energy Hohmann transfer. So what the Saturn V did, what Artemis did, or Artemis 2 did, a high energy transfer is the quickest way to get something out there. Even with Starship refueling concept of operations in Blue with 9x4, that's still the quickest way to do it in terms of mission duration and time. If we're constantly launching launching SLS out there to put people out there, there will be an SLS in the pipeline, right? So I would say that increasing SLS cadence at this point, on top of increasing New Glenn and Starship cadence, is a safety concern for future moon base operations. We need to have a way to be able to get out there and get out there quick in case something goes wrong.
And what would you propose that being exactly?
What? I just told you.
It sounded like you were kind of arguing against yourself there a little bit. I don't know.
What?
With picking up SLS production there being a safety issue towards our long-term vision. Maybe I misheard you. I may have misheard you.
Ramping up. No problem. Ramping up SLS production means ramping up to like 4 times a year. Four launches a year for SLS. That's not like ramping up to like 50 times a year, like what Blue wants to do, or millions of times a year by what SpaceX wants to do. Ramping up SLS is four times a year is fine. That's enough to put redundancy in. And if you're going to do that, Max, you're going to need a standardized stage. I would argue at this point, it's probably better to pursue, a New Glenn upper stage for better interfacing with Orion. That also makes it so if you achieve commonality between New Glenn's second stage with GS2 avionics and Orion avionics, right?
Mhm.
That means you could put Orion on New Glenn in the future, and you could use SLS to move cargo out to the moon, and you could figure out other ways to do things. Like you could opt for a better concept of operations for Martian exploration architecture, build using New Glenn and Starship to build transfer vehicles, and then not relying on an SLS just to get into low Earth orbit. What I'm trying to tell you is that, like, use that cut down New Glenn second stage as your standardized option for SLS. SLS launch maybe 4 times a year, not too spicy. That's what the Saturn V did. Ramping up procurement to that level at this point, Max, I don't think it's that big of a deal to do. We're almost there. Like, that's something that's easily doable by the end of the decade. And if you standardize your stage around Blue, who's already making a ton of GS2s, now you have a little bit of sunk cost fallacy on SLS, I'll admit, but now you have insanely more capability for not much more spending, so to speak, because you have a standardized upper stage, which is clearly what NASA is looking for.
I mean, that's also one of the solutions that we talked about when NASA announced that the long-term vision for Artemis still included SLS, and they only had ICPS up until what was then Artemis 3, and beyond that they didn't have a usable upper stage because EUS was killed, or put on long-term hold, or however they worded it. And the options there was to use either a Centaur 5, or we also predicted some sort of a Glenn Stage 2 configuration. Although the way it is now, as you were just talking about, is way too tall to fit in any of the high bays in the VAB. So that seems like a reasonable solution. But the question is, like, are they going to do it? Like that? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I see some folks in chat saying, like, oh, SLS at $2 billion a pop. I mean, yeah, if you want to look at it that way. So first of all, NASA's not there to make money. $2 billion a pop is pretty reasonable for what SLS does, I would say, at this point. People seem to think that, $2 billion is expensive compared to Starship, which will cost $1 million a launch, which it absolutely doesn't at this point and won't be for some time. Not to disparage it, I love Starship. I think that's great. But also at the same time, I suppose another way to look at it is, do you want to strand somebody on the moon? Having more ways and more rockets going to the moon is not a worse solution. And at that point, I think if you're going to make the argument that SLS is expensive to launch, well, now you're putting a price on lives on the moon base, and I don't think that's wise. I don't think that's a good idea.
I mean, at the end of the day, we have to have a way to get to and from reliably and safely. And if New Glenn does what it does, or Starship has a major issue of sorts, we're kind of stuck. So and like I was saying to you last week, AJ, if we lived in a reality where SLS was flying more and the EUS was a reality to support Mark 1 going to the moon this year, that would be wonderful. But we're not there. So, and that's what makes this whole. We could be, but we're not. And in the way EUS was structured, it doesn't seem viable to restart that production line.
I actually, yeah. I mean, like I told you, Max, I agree with you. I think that's a good. Screw that. I mean, the EUS is a pretty good stage, but if we could do a cut down New Glenn, cut down GS2, oh yeah. That also gives you the option of putting a 9x4 fairing on top of that and launching a righteous amount of cargo to the moon in one shot. That's what I'm saying, dude. You want your standardized upper stage. It's sitting here on a platter, and now you have a factory that's trying to crank these things out as much as possible. Like, dude, this is low-hanging fruit. I don't know why NASA hasn't been like, yo, let's do this, right? Like, and then you get SLS doing what it should be doing, moving heinous amounts of payload into space in an expendable capacity, right? And then New Glenn 7x2 and 9x4 on top of Starship with all of that, dude. That's the kind of sustainability I want in my space program, because you're going to need dissimilar methods to get to the moon. And two of the methods, the commercial options, are relying on refueling and refilling on orbit. I want a dissimilar method that involves the old school way of getting right to the surface, Saturn V style, right? Like in one shot. that's a safety concern at this point, dude. The ISS always has the ability to get home. Like we have the ability to send stuff right to the ISS in one shot, or if something goes wrong, a la Crew 11, we can get out of there quick and bug out and come home fast, right? I'm just thinking about it pragmatically from that point of view. Having SLS for lunar base operations in the future is not it's not a question of whether we should or shouldn't do it. It's a question of, well, you're making the moon base less safe if you don't. And that's what I meant by saying people bringing up the dang cost. All right, now you're putting the cost on the lives on the moon base. I don't think that's smart at all.
And also
the standardized, I was just gonna say, a standardized upper stage is very sus. SUS, standardized upper.
Oh, I got it.
Good God.
I ain't laughing, but I got it.
Because here's, I do want to bring, because we're getting back to a conversation we already had last week. I want to mention something that I got to talk with the Space Force with earlier this week. They did hold a media briefing to kind of discuss their response to things. And one thing that they noted was, of course, that was our big thing last week. Everyone was safe. Everyone was okay. All of the explosion was within the blast danger area of about 7,100-ish feet. That was from going outward in a diameter or a radius from the rocket itself of about 7,100 feet around. And it was all contained with that. And that's how, as massive as that explosion looked, and Space Force confirms that was the largest explosion that they have ever dealt with. Yeah, that's surprisingly not big, and they might even consider shrinking it. In addition to that, it's also worth noting that they mentioned that for Starship, it will be 12,000 feet for the blast danger area, basing that off of 100% of TNT explosion, basically conversion for the amount of propellant on board. That was what surprised me, is as big as that explosion looked, and that Starship will be bigger and the blast danger area will be wider, that we're only talking 7,000 feet versus 12,000 feet for a BDA. That's nuts to me, as crazy as that was all with this explosion.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, the explosion wasn't strong enough to severely damage flight hardware inside of Blue Origin's hangar at Launch Complex 36. So,
fairly confident the doors on the front of the IF definitely tanked the explosion.
Yeah,
because they seem to be very, very broken.
Doors no work.
Yeah. When is the door not a door? When it's ajar. And also when it's exploded upon by Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket.
Yeah. Something exactly like that. Like, look, all I'm saying is that if they're taking the back doors off, those front doors are probably absolutely thrashed on. It probably looks like Looney Tunes, where there's like a, like a coyote-shaped mark at one side. Those front doors on the IF are hosed.
Which we haven't seen yet. Well, waiting for Blue to post a picture to see what that actually looked like, but dang. Also, the poll is complete of will New Glenn fly again before the end of the year. 24% say yes, 76% are best friends with Ryan Weber. So, where we're at.
Wow.
Like, dude, I'm not usually the one to take the pessimistic, approach here, but Dave Limp's projections of relaunch make my launch predictions for when we're going to relaunch look like Ryan's relaunching projections, right? Like, it's bad if you're taking my like I said 12 to 16 months, and everybody here last week was like, no, right? Like, and then
that was also before we saw the damage that was at least publicly available.
Right? Yeah, it's a thing. It's definitely a vibe to take my optimistic launch projections and make them look pessimistic. I'm like, all right. I mean, chat seems to agree there.
You know what though? I can deeply appreciate Dave Lim's optimism there and seriousness on the matter, and the fact that he wants to fly again as quickly as freaking possible. I think not only is it incredibly in Blue's favor to do that, but also for the sake of the Artemis program with the timeline that has been laid out ahead of it, it is incredibly. But it makes you want to get New Glenn flying as quickly as you physically possibly can. And I admire the attitude that Dave and the management team have shared, in the fact that they want to, that they have there's a fire under their butts. Like they have a real sense of urgency to get this vehicle up and back in the skies again. It's a weird feeling this because with this issue with the issue that New Glenn has unfortunately suffered, it has kind of put the U.S. space programs back against the wall, and that's normally when the U.S. shines the brightest and gets the most done is when their backs are against the wall. And that's one of the things I'm most looking forward to seeing is how not only Blue comes out on top of this, but also the entire space program here in the U.S. Which then raises the question: if Blue does not end up reflying this year, but they still want to fly Mark 1 this year, which is also incredibly important to the first phase of the moon base program that was laid out last week. How are they going to fly into Mark 1? Does that involve additional launch service provider collaboration there? Like, do we see Mark 1 fly on some sort of Falcon Heavy variant, for example? Don't know. Like, there's a whole bunch of questions and arguments to make there, but I really appreciate the fact that Dave is so confident and strong on his take that we are going to fly before the year's out. Like, we will fly again this year, and whether or not they end up doing that, we'll see how close they actually get. But at least they have a real sense of urgency publicly about the issue.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens. And of course, we're kind of overviewing things a bit here and focusing a lot on the details itself. If you want to learn more about what happened after the anomaly and more in depth into what Dave posted as well and what we've been able to see, we've been following this over on the Breaking Space channel, which is the second channel that we have over here at NSF. Ryan Caton has been working very hard on those, so definitely go ahead and check out those videos if you want more of the broader overview, or basically kind of totally just forgot what we were talking about as we went off on all the different tangents. Let me thank some people here. For some reason, the panel didn't show these earlier. 98 Central becoming a Capcom member, which Capcom and above gets access to the NSF Discord. We will see you there. And Telstar86 from the opening. Sawyer is blue, dava dee dava die. I can't sing it because of copyright, but I appreciate it.
Inside and out.
Bodger gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much for doing that. Jeff saying, love the patches. As always, EJ stream is the best. Thanks for the flame trench. Well, you're going to come onto an NSF stream and say EJ stream is the best?
Ouch.
Hot dang.
Ouch.
No. Get back in frame. Get back in frame and address yourself.
I don't want
to.
Okay. Yeah, see, I made sure I was out of the whole frame, so yeah.
Well, that's how we're going to have to transport New Glenn. Just move the camera from VAB to pad like we did behind you. There you go.
Oh, you changed the frame on me, dude. What are you doing? Man!
Were you going to try and do like the John Cena or popping out of the thing? Are you sure about that?
You sure about it? Yeah. Just the, you know.
Wilbo, thank you for the support there as well. Steve saying, sounds like EJ, but doesn't look like EJ. Max, tag, you're next to shave, and then Sawyer until next blue explosion. Wow, the hair is getting a lot of comments today, folks.
Nope, not shaving. Actually, I'm going to see my barber next week for the first time in a couple of months to get this cleaned up and trimmed up. But no, it's not going away. It's just getting shaped better.
Oh, dang. LCDMT saying, this will date me, but EJ's fresh shave gives young Chevy Chase vibes. Smugly handsome, clean cut, and deadpan. Ready for Christmas tree disasters. Sharp as heck, bro.
Thank you. You're not being the ball, Danny. Where did it land? Right in the lumberyard.
Well, guess what? He's EJ and you're not. So, Bodger, come on, you know that from his
yes,
from
yes.
SNL. I'm Chevy chasing your anyway. Bodger saying I have a scar. Could it be from all my burns today that you guys are having to deal with?
You want to know how I got these scars?
You do the reference. I cannot do a Joker.
Oh, I love doing Joker. It's awesome. I will not do any more in stream here, though.
Was that the launch pad talking? You know how I got these scars?
Oh, God.
I was a drinker and a fiend.
And here we go.
And here we
go.
What rails? Wheat Thin saying Dave Limp seems to have contracted Elon time.
No.
Yeah. Honestly, you're not wrong there.
Hey, I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right.
So Ryan Weber, got it.
Yes.
Fares on the rise, saying certain payload. I say that because he's at work and he can't defend himself.
Yeah, okay, all right, whatever.
Fares on the rise, certain payloads, especially government ones, require vertical integration. It simplifies a lot of dynamics for load bearing. It's true. There are a lot of changes that have to be done with how spacecraft are integrated. And like I was mentioning last week, I actually talked with, I'm trying to remember who it was, one of the companies that had to integrate their payload differently because it was horizontal on Falcon.
Yeah.
Steve Cowley, anyone else think KMR sounds like God from Real Genius? Doesn't have
It's
the
ironic
nickname for no reason.
because Kevin is God himself.
Absolutely.
It's an Oda reference, but it checks out.
Wilbo with the Yoda, I guess. Ashamed I am. Away with useless mouse. Have to catch up tomorrow. We'll do better next time I travel. All good. Good to see you, Wilbo. Impersonation Impression Day here at NSF. Who else is chat going to impersonate next? Bideford saying, I'm very concerned that we do not know all the details. I pray that all the astronauts stay safe, and if we need to figure out how to get more than 4 crew home, SpaceX needs to figure out a plan now to save all if need be. Also true.
Regarding the ISS, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, someone was asking in chat earlier, hey, wasn't Dragon meant to be able to support 7 people originally?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the original plan.
It's almost like having a direct line to the destination, like that being able to get there in one shot is a safety concern or something. Weird, huh?
Weird.
So strange.
Telstar86, what's worse, EJ or Jack with no beard? Jack, hands down.
Yeah, Jack with no beard was a weird thing. I'm not gonna lie. Took quite a bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
See, I can pull it off. That's why I do it.
Oh boy.
Dang.
That's not to disparage Jack. His beard is glorious.
By the way, in terms of next impersonation, NASA spaceflight official says Max do me. In other words, do Chris Bergen.
No.
Yorkshire. There you go.
I can do
That sounded
some.
more like
I can.
Jake Hegan than
I can do some.
Chris.
I can do some British accents, but I cannot do a Yorkshire accent. I'm sorry.
I'll be honest, guys, and I don't mean to be mean. They all sound the same to me. Okay, like I can hear some differences here and there, but sorry.
Oh, Eric Fraser saying, pulling it off sounds like it would hurt.
Jesus.
Trying to pull it off. And there was Bodger saying, Max, do Yorkshire accent, please.
Nope.
Also, NASA spaceflight official says, not bad.
Yorkshire.
That sounded more Scottish than Yorkshire.
It's close. It's close.
Close enough,
Talk
right?
about dailies.
I could
Something about
sound
dailies.
I could sound like Jake Keegan a lot better than I can sound like Chris.
All right, I've tried. Max has tried, or EJ has tried. Max has not tried.
Yeah, Max, try it. Go. Do it.
Nope.
Why not?
Nope.
What are you,
Kevin, you know
scared
what
or
we
something?
need to do? We need a chat goal to get Max to do it.
Nope. I'm not doing a northern British accent. No.
It might be one of the
Yeah.
worst impressions in the world.
Yeah, I know mine was
In the
terrible. I
world.
tried, Chris. I'm sorry. That's like you trying to do a New York, New Jersey accent. Also, Mr. Fluffy coming in saying address himself. I'm fairly certain EJ dresses himself. Didn't y'all see that Artemis suit? Sharp dressed man. I mean, everyone go crazy about a sharp dressed man.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Although
Come
he
running
had a
as
big
fast as they can.
beard, and this guy doesn't. So
Yeah.
we're talking ZZ Top. But yeah, it sounds like a chat goal needs to be created or something to get Max to do that.
No. No.
Oh, we tried. R.I.P. Max trying to do a Chris impersonation. Also,
I won't.
R.I.P.
I won't insult Chris like that. I will not do Chris dirty by doing that. I respect Chris way too much to insult his whereabouts and his culture and his speech.
Whereabouts?
I respect
What?
him too much, and yet I still butchered it. But anyway, R.I.P. Max's impression. R.I.P. me for trying to do that impersonation, and R.I.P. Maven around Mars. How's that for a segue?
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah. So NASA's Maven spacecraft. You may be going, wait, what was that one? That was a spacecraft that was around Mars. This is when it launched back in November of 2013. Oh, the old 4-meter fairing of the Atlas. How I miss it. Look at that. I think it's a 401 launching
No,
that thing.
that's a 4. Yeah, no, you are right. It's a 401.
Yeah,
And
no solids there.
and also no crew access tower there either.
Yes, that was pre-Starliner. But yeah, so Maven was one of the spacecraft for around Mars, and it did a lot of awesome science. It basically was studying the sun's impact on the Martian surface and the atmosphere. It was taking a look at aurora even around Mars with its atmosphere. It did a lot of studies on the global dust storms on the surface, which, if you remember, for the rovers with the solar panels, that obviously was a major factor, keeping in mind that I believe when this arrived in 2014, one of the two rovers was still operating on Mars, if not both, of Spirit and Opportunity. I think Oppie was still going, if I remember. But anyway, in addition to that, you may remember earlier at the end of last year, we had some issues with it, and that all of a sudden it went around Mars, and when it came back, the Deep Space Network didn't pick it up again. And they were worried that it was dead of some kind, and then a random data fragment came through. And that little data fragment showed them that the poor spacecraft was tumbling out of control. They tried to get it into safe mode and everything, and turns out, though, in tumbling, of course, it was trying to stop itself from tumbling, and in trying to do so, it burnt out all the batteries and made it unrecoverable. And so this week, NASA officially said that Maven is dead. So it is no longer operating around the surface, or around the orbit of Mars, unfortunately. It was a beautiful launch. It was a beautiful spacecraft. But here's the important thing about it that I think is worth noting. Because yes, it's a lot of science that we're missing out on, and it's very sad. And it had a really cool mission. But look at all the other things that are orbiting around it. Those are the other communication satellites. So in addition to doing science, it was also part of the Mars relay network that NASA uses. And yeah, I mean, this one held the record for the most data relayed from another planet in a single day. So it was a significant part of that infrastructure. Now we're down to just a couple of spacecraft. So there is the Mars Express spacecraft, which is technically capable of doing communications, but it's mainly just a backup. This, by the way, a live animation of the Mars Relay Network that NASA puts out. But then you have Mars Odyssey, which is 23 years around Mars. You have the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which has been 20 years around Mars. And the newest one, which is kind of what they're trying to use as the primary for communications, ExoMars, has been around 10 years. They are old. And we have spacecraft that still rely on those to be able to send data back. We're talking Curiosity, we're talking Perseverance, and now we're talking about trying to send out massive things to Mars. We're talking about the push of Elon. I know obviously the focus has been moved to the moon, but still getting spacecraft out to Mars and getting all these big things deployed to the surface in the next couple of years. And yet now we've lost a major part of the Mars data relay infrastructure. So I feel like this is becoming a bigger concern, not just about the science, not just about communicating with these important spacecraft. Oh yeah, you've also got the ones on the poles there, all the different landers in addition to the rovers. I mean, is this not an issue of if we want to now start sending all this massive stuff to Mars with Starship like Elon's talking about, that we kind of need a more robust Mars telecommunication network here?
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, it shines the light on, you know, what we're going to need if we're really serious about going to Mars. I mean, and yeah, sorry. I mean, Maven wasn't even designed as a relay satellite. It could do it. That's the thing. Like you could do it. It's not. It wasn't really its primary thing. Maven was there to study Mars's atmosphere, and it actually proved out what we had long kind of thought, that you know the solar winds are pushing Mars, or they're basically blowing the Martian atmosphere away from Mars. It's a phenomenon. I think they call it atmospheric stuttering. Atmospheric stuttering. That was the big thing that it proved out that so you get aurora effects from the sun hitting what trace gases are left in Mars's atmosphere, and they bounce out into deep space. Maven proved that. That's a huge deal. Like it Sawyer, I think the reason why I want to bring this up isn't necessarily just to say, that atmospheric stuttering is like, oh, no, that's no big deal. No, proving that is actually a big thing, like for Mars and for Earth, because that's what happens, at the North and South Pole. But I mean, this thing wasn't even designed as a relay satellite, and look at what it was able to do. Think about it like what you were saying. Like if we have a dedicated relay network out there, think about all the throughput that then Maven could, you could use some if you have a higher throughput, you send more satellites, you send more stuff like Maven, and go from there, right? Like, yeah, I don't only think it's necessary. I think it's kind of imperative if we are actually serious about going to Mars and learning about it and eventually sending people there. Like, yeah, of course, yeah, we have to build more, right? Max, what do you think?
I mean, I think that's always been kind of not secondhandly, but that's always been in the background of supporting any long-term infrastructure on Mars is there. I mean, there's going to be some sort of like a Starlink constellation around the moon, and I presume there's going to be something of the sorts around Mars, which Starship will undoubtedly will undoubtedly contribute a lot to. I mean, if you want to establish a permanent presence there or long-term presence on a scale that's as big as they want to in the long term, that's a bottom line requirement. So I think it's going to happen. It's unfortunate that we don't really have any insight as to when that's going to be, what that's going to look like, how many satellites it's going to incorporate. But I guess what happens with Artemis may shed some light on any future in orbit comms setup for Mars. So I don't know.
And
I mean,
sorry, guys, I said stuttering. It's sputtering. Apologies. It's been a long week.
that's all right. I thought you were just making fun of Max, but
Damn, dude.
sorry. I'm in a spicy mood today. In case you can't
Damn,
tell.
dude. He's gonna punch you in the face next time he sees you. Look at him.
Rightfully so. Stick a stick in my wheel and make me that I can't move.
Dude,
I get it.
You're gonna show up to one of these flame trenches with a black eye.
And I deserve every bit of it today. But I mean, here's the thing. I don't know. I'm worried about our future Mars exploration if we're losing communication stuff here. So I mean, we have the RTP, what is it, the RFP, the request for proposal
RFP.
for a Mars telecommunications orbiter. Finally, a dedicated spacecraft whose sole goal will be to be providing communications back and forth between Mars. We need that kind of throughput, and we've joked about it so many times here with the breaking news stinger and everything. With breaking news, there's a tweet from Blue Origin about their Mars telecommunication orbiter, or breaking news, there's a tweet from Rocket Lab about their Mars telecommunication orbiter. I mean, I think it's kind of necessary at this point. As much as we've been joking about it all this time, do you think it's actually finally time to make this a reality?
I mean, you have to think about how you're going to structure it before you do it, right? Obviously. But the thing is, we're still at least 5 to 10 years out from any sort of long-ish term presence or stay on the Martian surface regarding humans. So there's still some time there, and luckily we have a planetary body close to Earth to test a lot of this on to some sort of extent, being the moon, right? And of course the Artemis program. So I mean, obviously we need a way to talk to home. If we can't talk to home, or being on our own that early on a different planet, so early in a program where you don't have hardware to support yourself is a really scary thought. But luckily we have again we have the moon roughly 2 to 3 days away, as opposed to being 6 months to a year away, depending on how you want to get there. and also where Mars is relative to Earth. Because remember, how long it takes to get to Mars and how you get to Mars varies heavily on where Mars is relative to Earth's orbit. That's why you have the Mars transfer window, the optimal Mars transfer window every 2 years. So if you miss that, you're either going coming home at a much slower pace, or you're going to have to expend a lot more propellant to get there in a similar time, which is a lot less efficient than it otherwise would be if Mars was in the right spot. But again, luckily we're still a few years away from that becoming a I don't want to say a scary reality or a scary thought, but we have luckily the trials and tribulations with Artemis to still go through to enhance or to refine what sort of hardware we want to build and where and how we want it to function around the moon before we send anything else to Mars. So I think we at least have that going for us.
which is nice. But when you're talking about your youngest spacecraft currently communicating back and forth, being 10 years old, and again, it's not even a primary job to, be a communication satellite. It's not like it is a purpose-built one. It is built with that functionality into it, but again, it's an actual science mission. So the youngest NASA one, because ExoMars, I believe, was part of ESA and a joint thing there. The youngest NASA one is over 20 years old now that
Yeah.
it's still functioning.
Yeah.
That's what scares me.
I mean, if anything, I find it sort of confidence inspiring that Maven's primary goal wasn't that, and it still lasted 10 years. Maybe I'm just looking at it through a different lens.
That's true. If we lose another
Guys-
one though, EJ, I think that's when we
Okay.
get into trouble.
Well, yeah. Well, guys, all right. I don't mean to keep bringing this up, right? Like, we were just talking. I was just talking about the most sustainable way forward and how that might include SLS for going to the moon. It's probably not going to happen. I'm probably just hoping at this point. But also, everybody's kind of looking at me like, right? You guys disagree with me, and that's fine. That's okay. I mean, you guys are probably right, to be 100% honest with you. But here's the thing. Sorry, you said the newest one is 10 years old, right? Lack of long-term sustainability in these programs is coming back to bite us in the butt. I looked at Maven's breakdown in terms of cost. It costs 366 million, just million. We're not talking billions now. 366 million to develop and produce. I guarantee you at least 60% of that was development, meaning that it probably cost somewhere in the ballpark, maybe $100 million to put together Maven, right? If you made two of them, if you made two Mavens instead of one, right? Because if it costs 200 million to develop and 100 million to make, right? It's not going to, it costs 366 million to develop and make one. It's not going to cost 366 million to develop and make another, right? If you added 100 million to that program, right, and made two instead of one, you wouldn't have this problem right now. And I know what people are going to say, like, oh, well, there's other things too, right? No, there isn't. No, there isn't. You may have to pay for another launch. That's another 187 million. So that means for $287 million, we could have near constant communications with Mars, and we'd have redundancy in the program. There's no way the operations for the Maven mission on a year-to-year basis is about $20 million, right? There's no way it's going to cost $40 million to maintain two of these things. So that means if we had spent the money and done it right 15 years ago at this point, we wouldn't have this problem right now. NASA programs are littered with stuff like this. And that's what I'm saying about it with SLS. Like, it is not the cheapest solution by no means. But money isn't what we're talking about here. If we'd spent another, I said 287 million. If we'd spent another 287 million to launch another Atlas 401 with Maven 2 on board, or just co-manifested it and spent another $100 million to make another Maven, we wouldn't have this problem right now.
Rule number one in government spending. Why have one when you can have two for twice the price?
This isn't twice the price. That's what I'm saying. But yes, I mean, the joke is funny still, but that's not what, that's what I mean.
Tell me you at least get that reference, EJ, please.
Of course, dude.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
What is it? What is it?
Simpsons.
Bro.
That disappointed look. Oh my goodness.
That's Contact, bro. Remember?
Oh,
Come on.
dude, it's not every day that you throw a reference past me. That doesn't happen a lot, but you got me today. I'm gonna chalk this one up to not getting sleep, and we'll call it that. Okay.
It took 99 flame trenches for it to finally happen, folks.
Hey, it's very rare. I'm usually good about this, but yeah, let's just say extenuating circumstances in real life and call it a day.
Excuses,
Yeah.
but fair enough. Let me thanks to people here. Deuce saying, "Come on, Max," as we now apparently have a chat goal. It takes 20 for Max to do a crispy impersonation.
Is that actually there?
It's 1 of 20 right now per Shazbert.
Ugh.
Oliver Redmond, I don't know if I'm on fire today. I'm on something today. Not medication, that's for sure. I maybe should be. And fares on the rise. Subscribe now for unlimited long distance with MCI Marscom. RIP WorldCom, I guess.
Was that a
Anyway.
Total Recall? That was a Total Recall reference. There, this thing down here. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, we keep talking about
Got that
SLS.
one.
We keep mentioning SLS. We keep talking about SLS. We might as well continue with SLS specifically before we move on to Starship. Starship's coming. Promise you that, folks. But we've got some big news that it's coming out of the Artemis front soon, right, Max?
Yeah. Is this my turn to talk? Or I thought this was EJ's turn to talk.
Is it EJ's turn? Who's doing it? I thought it was you.
No, I was doing this one. I was doing.
Oh,
this
you
one.
are?
Yeah.
We should probably write our names next to it. Anyway, EJ, go ahead.
You want me to write my name in the doc? EJ says this part.
All caps.
They can't see.
It is in all caps.
Caps lock is cruise control for cool, but remember, with cruise control, you still got to steer. Anyway, moving
Not
on.
with Tesla now. Anyway, continue.
I don't think Teslas have cruise control.
It's autopilot. Whatever. Just let's talk about SLS.
All right. So
Artemis.
all right, NASA has been saying that on the 9th, so this is next Tuesday at 11 Eastern, they're going to announce the Artemis 3 crew. Artemis 3's purpose is to basically go to low Earth orbit and rendezvous with the landers to test out Orion's rendezvous proximity operations and docking characteristics, and then get evaluations on, long duration habitation. Long duration habitation, basically being in the landers for any period of time and understanding how the two vehicles interface. Probably was a good thing. Probably would have been a good idea to figure that out before you send that to the moon. That's what the Apollo program did on Apollo 9. They just sent a LEM and a CSM, a fully functional one, up into low Earth orbit on a Saturn V and just tested everything, docking, undocking, plucking the LEM off the S4, et cetera, et cetera. Probably a good idea to do that way. And in that, the goal is to reduce risk as much as possible to make sure that you don't have, a little snafu out by the moon when you go to land people on Artemis 4. Now that begs the question, are the landers going to be ready or not? We don't know. But yeah, we do have the crew announcement here, and then the nature of the mission kind of really hasn't been elaborated on. I do believe, and we don't have any of this teed up, which is fine. Like, so just, managing expectations so Kevin doesn't come and punch me in the face. I do believe Jared was talking about it on social media this afternoon about how he's going to also give updates to the mission and what what's the mission is going to entail, and maybe updates on the landers too. So that's kind of cool. I'll take that. That's pretty good. I mean, the announcement has been a long time coming. I can't help but think, did they get the mission profile figured out? Max, what do you think? Did they get it figured out, and that's why they're announcing the crew now? Why announce the crew now? Are the landers even close to being ready, dude? I don't know. Why do you think they would do that right now?
I mean, we were really spoiled by the fact that we had 3 years in between the announcement of the Artemis 2 crew and them actually flying, right? Normally, that's not how that goes. But they would only really go about announcing the crew if they had the mission profile, for the most part, if not completely nailed down in terms of what they want to do. Overall, they're just launching one or both landers into a low Earth orbit and performing rendezvous and docking procedures with Orion. So that begs the question, like, who do we think is going to be on the crew? Because of the list of active Artemis astronauts, we currently, or of NASA, of Artemis NASA astronauts, only 3 of them have flown on Artemis so far, being Christina Cook, Reed Wiseman, and Victor Glover, right? There have been rumors that Christina is like, this is like a wild speculation rumor. I have no substance behind this at all, but it's been rumored that Christina may be selected again for Artemis 4. I think that would be kind of cool, but also repeat picks for crews are not a new thing. On top of the multiple times it's happened during the space shuttle, it happened during Apollo with Jim Lovell with Apollo 8 and 13, John Young with Apollo 10 and 16, and Gene Cernan with Apollo 10 and Apollo 10 and 17. But for Artemis 3, I don't know if I have like a dream team that I would pick for Artemis 3. I have 1 or 2 that I would for sure want to fly on Artemis 4 for the actual landing. But for Artemis 3, I'm really not sure. I want to get especially Sawyer's take on this, considering he's probably the most well up to date and in tune with the happenings of the current NASA astronaut class. Who do you guys think is going to be picked?
I mean, my first thoughts, I don't think we'll see any of the Artemis 2 crew on Artemis 3.
No.
We've talked about, again, the fact that people fly multiple times, but it's very rare. I think it's happened once in the shuttle program where an astronaut
Once.
flew on back-to-back missions.
Stephen Bowen.
Yep. So it's very rare, but that's why I don't think that'll be the case. For this one, though, what's interesting also is that Joe Acaba, who was the head of the astronaut office, stepped down relatively recently. I wonder if he's trying to get to fly again. I wouldn't be surprised then if maybe he goes for Artemis 3, unless he was trying to set himself up for Artemis 4, because the head of the astronaut office is the one that assigns the crews. So typically, if there's going to be a conflict of interest like that, they will remove themselves from that hierarchy position so that they can go back into the flight rotation. You can see there some of the active people there. I mean, there are some amazing names on that list. I think it's definitely going to be someone with other past spaceflight experience. I wouldn't be surprised if Andre ends up flying, either Andre or Jenny, the backups for Artemis 2.
Yeah, true.
Given that they have the experience there. And also, Johnny Kim has done everything. So if he's not either on Artemis 3 or Artemis 4, then NASA's missing out big time.
He's on my dream team for Artemis 4, Johnny Kim. I want that dude to be like one of the first to walk on the moon again. I love that dude. He's a hero. What?
Yeah, I agree. I love Johnny Kim too. I'm not disagreeing with you. Just to be absolutely sure. So actually, in the most recent astronaut class, Anna Menon became a NASA astronaut, and the mission that she flew was Polaris Dawn, a not high Earth orbit mission, but a mission that was a pretty complicated low Earth orbit mission. What do you guys think that they're sizing up Anna for some flight experience there, because she has flight experiences flying capsules higher than the ISS? I just thought of that. I'm like, that's not actually a bad idea.
That would be pretty sick,
right?
actually.
Right?
Yeah.
And what's also interesting is her husband, who is also a NASA astronaut, is getting ready to fly on the next crewed Soyuz to the ISS. So they posted on their Instagrams that they were getting ready to head out to Baikonur to get ready for launch. Would it not be amazing if you had one of them in space while the other was announced that they are going to be going to space? But at the same time, for such a high-profile Artemis mission, to have someone from the newest astronaut class, who I don't even know if they're actual astronauts yet, or if they're still considered as astronaut candidates, seems like they're kind of jumping the line if they do that.
Maybe, but yeah, I mean that is a good point. But also, we are in very interesting times, and plucking someone who already has flight experience would make a great amount of sense. But also, we have to consider the complex nature that Artemis 3 is going to be holding, with up to 2 lunar landers in maybe somewhat close proximity to each other to work around Orion. I mean, obviously Mark II and Starship are not going to be right next to each other in orbit. Obviously, that's way too big of a hazard. But you have two launch service providers working with each other and NASA. You also have you're also launching two different rockets with them, and on top of SLS launching Orion, right? So you have up to three launch vehicles working together with each other, and three large entities working with each other. And on top of the fact, there are going to be people flying on this mission as well. So Artemis 3 could be overlooked because it's only going to low Earth orbit, right? Or maybe medium Earth orbit, depending on if they want to get it. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's been entirely finalized yet. Maybe they'll go to medium to MEO or LEO, probably LEO. But like Artemis 3 is where the hardware that's going to the moon is going to be proven up to the point of everything else before landing. Which can of course only be demonstrated by landing on the moon, right? And even before then, Blue and SpaceX are going to be launching uncrewed landing missions of both of their landers before Artemis 4. So yeah, I think Artemis 3 might be one of the most slept on Artemis missions to date so far, or at least at this point. But we're also just coming off the high of Artemis 2, so we also have that going.
And I do want to point out, I was looking it up for reference, the Artemis 2 crew was announced back on April 3rd, 2023, and launched April 1st, 2026. So
3
this
years.
is obviously a much shorter time span, I would imagine, with them trying to fly next year. Just interesting note there.
I don't think SLS is going to be the bottleneck this time.
Nope.
So then here's the question. Which lander do you think is going to be the one that we see fly on Artemis 3? Is it going to be SpaceX? Is it going to be Blue? Is it going to be both? Is it going to be neither? What do you think?
The option is there for both if they're ready. Keyword if.
I think that if we're going to see a lander ready, it's going to be Starship at this point. I'm sorry, Blue. I'm sorry, guys. Like,
ooh,
that thing popping on the pad was not ideal.
I didn't expect that.
Really?
No, not from you. No
Why not?
offense. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not. Dude, I did a deep dive into this RUD and what Blue can do with their con ops over on my end on Twitch the other day, and dude, it was not great. I mean, I don't mean to be a stick in the mud here, but I'm not sure if either one is going to be ready anytime soon. If anything, this Artemis 3 mission is probably going to go into late 2027, even though NASA says otherwise, and it's not going to be because of SLS. Yeah, like you said. If anything, it's probably going to be Starship. If anything, I'm saying this, guys, because like one, I don't really get insider information too much, and I don't want it. I know a bunch of people that work in the industry, but I don't like kind of getting insider information and being like, well, this happened, or I know something more. Like I try to make a guess based off of what's available publicly, right? And Blue we've seen a lot with their Mark 1s, but I haven't seen nothing with Mark 2 other than a mock-up at JSC. And that's cool. The mock-up is great, and that doesn't mean that Blue isn't working on it either. But judging by like SpaceX, I mean, comparatively to SpaceX, who has basically their hands all on the table here, right? And now, and to be fair, we haven't seen HLS parts either, right? Like too much, but I'm talking about what I would have said Blue Moon until the NG4 explosion. I think that SpaceX will end up doing it, just because I really don't think Blue is going to fly as quickly as they say they're going to fly. I mean, like I said, I gave them 12 to 18 months, which still could be in time for late 2027 if you start working now, right? But yeah, I don't know. I would like to see more with Mark II. That's all. Like Max, what did you think? You think Blue's gonna get there before Starship?
To be completely honest, EJ, I keep going back and forth. Like I keep thinking, okay, maybe Blue will a step ahead, and maybe Starship or maybe SpaceX is working on a lot more behind the scenes that we just cannot see, and maybe one day we'll see an HLS nose cone roll out of Star Factory one day. I don't know. It's a complete toss up between both right now. I can't firmly pick like myself right now. I mean, maybe it's easier to do that now with the recent NG4 anomaly, because we know how fast SpaceX can work on their own, right? But Blue still has a lot left to prove, not just with New Glenn. They still have to demo Mark 1 as well, which is a requirement before they even move on to Mark 2. So, and that was supposed to fly at the end of this year, and they still have options to do that, being all the rockets at this point, assuming New Glenn is not ready to fly, which it probably won't be. I don't know, dude. I keep going back and forth. I'm having a really tough time deciding who is going to be ready first. But I think I'm leaning more on towards the decision now of there being only one of them is going to be ready for Artemis 3, and they're not going to wait for the other one to be ready.
That's probably right, dude. My big thing with changing from one to the other is, like, look, we don't know much about like the interior HLS. We haven't seen an HLS mockup or anything like that, but we've barely even seen Blue mockups. So at that point, what do you have to go off of? You have to go off the launch vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, Starship Flight 12 had a pretty dang successful test flight the other day, and New Glenn, didn't. So if we're going to compare it on that front, because that's the information presented, I would say Starship at this time, but that opinion is subject to change. You never know.
I mean, also, if we want to include NG4 in that as well, Blue has had 2 anomalies or 2 unsuccessful flights in 4 missions. That's not a good record. Like that's not a good look at all.
It's like Delta 3 bad.
Yeah, that's really bad.
I thought about that the other day, dude. That's Delta 3 bad. That's not great.
What was that? 3 for 5?
2 for 3.
2 for 3.
2 for 3. Okay, yeah.
Well, technically one for 3 with that were successful, but yes.
Yeah, well, two out of the 3 failed.
Because
and
actually
then they were like Delta 4.
Because Flight 2,
well, yeah, like one more spectacular than the other, but yeah.
Because on Flight 2 was the one time that Centaur decided to have a really weird issue in Curse the Flight, whereas Centaur is normally known to be one of the most reliable and high performing upper stages there is, or most efficient upper stages. And the one
Centaur?
time it's failed, yeah.
On Delta 3?
No, I'm sorry, RL10. RL10. Forgive me.
Yeah. I got you.
But I mean, I hope they're both ready. But like you said, I don't think they're gonna wait. They are so gung ho on getting this next mission off so they can hit that 28 timeline. So as soon as one of the landers gives the inkling that it's ready to go, boom, they're going to set a target launch date, I think, for Artemis 3 at that point. And one of the things they pointed out also with Artemis 3 is that this is supposed to be the longest Artemis mission to date with crew on it. Because, of course, you had the one where they did the slingshot around the moon that ended up being, what, under 10 days, technically?
It was about 10 days, yeah.
Yeah. And this one is going to be longer than that. So technically it gives more time if both were ready to launch both and rendezvous with them. But I think it really is going to come down to which is going to happen first this year. Will Blue return to flight first, or will SpaceX successfully send a ship into orbit and catch it? I think whichever happens first is going to be who's going to be your first lander.
Well, maybe the catch isn't so much as a requirement for HLS. I mean, the SpaceX wants to do it. Obviously, it's imperative for Starship's overall success. I don't think a catch is exactly imperative to HLS success, but nonetheless, I think they'll try and knock both those out in one flight.
My reason behind that is if they're trying to catch ship already, they have enough confidence in the vehicle that they're ready to put HLS out there. Of course, I don't think they're going to be trying to catch HLS or anything like that. It's just if they're already at the point where, hey, we feel comfortable enough, we've gotten the ship to orbit, we feel comfortable enough to bring it back and catch it, then we have enough confidence in Starship as is that we are ready to launch HLS. That's my opinion on that. So if that happens, then HLS goes first, in my opinion. Or Starship HLS goes first.
I think that's a fair assessment. Wow.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Rare.
I disagree
do,
because
but-
EJ shaved.
You did.
I don't even know what to say because you all did the disagreeing for me. So I agree.
No, I was sorry about that. I was just saying, did we all just agree on something?
We all just agreed, and
all-
chat didn't get to hear your
yeah.
amazing comebacks, but still.
Missed it by that much. I apologize, guys. I'm not on my game as good as I usually
Wait,
be.
nope.
It usually am. It's not been a good month for you, boy.
Loser,
June
double
will be,
loser,
though.
as if.
June will be a good month.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
It has to be. June has to be the month because Starship, which let me thanks the people here, and then we will move on to Starship because we didn't get to talk about it last week because of the joys of Blue trying to steal SpaceX's spotlight again. Wilbo coming in saying to kindred spirits. Yes, indeed. I thought there was more. I guess that's it. So, we've got Starship. Of course, we had Flight 12. We've got some movement going around with some boosters. And we did get a little bit of information that was going on here with Starship stuff. So, I mean, I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about it last time. We can always blame Blue, right? It feels like we can blame Blue for a lot at this point.
I mean, yeah, that was a shame. Like, I know there was some angry people that we didn't talk about Starship last week, and we do apologize about that. But when a failure the scale of New Glenn popping on the pad happens, that I think takes front row seat.
Yeah, I think so. And then, of course, we also happen to have an Atlas launch in there, too. That doesn't help
Yeah,
either.
that happened as well. And don't forget the Starlink as well, Sawyer. Don't forget the Starlink.
Yeah, but I mean, the Atlas happened during the actual flame trench. That's why we lost the
true.
time to Atlas.
Yeah, true.
Which, amazingly, they're already stacking the final 551 I saw today. So
Yeah,
that hurts.
That
believe
is
that.
really strange to think about because they've been so gung ho, like kicking these last Atlas fives out of the nest in the last few months. Amazon has, and this is like the upcoming Atlas 5 flight, the 551 with Leo is like the end of Atlas as we know it. Because like obviously we have 6 more assigned flights, or up to 6 more assigned flights with Starliner, but Atlas is not going to look anything like it does for Amazon Leo, because obviously for Starliner you have 2 solid rocket motors instead of 5, and they're also the old style AJ60 solid rocket motors compared to the new, oh gosh, I'm blanking, the ones used on Vulcan and
GM60s.
GEM 60s. Yes, thank you.
63s.
Yes, yeah, they're the old AJ60s, because those are crew rated, and also you use the Centaur without the 5-meter shroud around it. Not to mention, you don't have a fairing. You have Starliner on top of it. You have I think Tori calls it the bodyguard. So yeah,
Also,
that's gonna,
2
that's gonna
Centaur
be a weird
engines
one.
versus 1.
True. Also true. Yes.
By the way, I do want to also hit, before we go into that, a breaking news update that we had from NASA. So NASA did release an update on the space station leak with some new information from what we discussed earlier in the stream. So they go on to talk about the history of the cracks on the transfer tunnel known as PRK, and that they've worked together to identify the root cause, and while Roscosmos has been applying leak mitigation measures. This week, so the week of June 1st, during Progress 95 spacecraft cargo operations, Roscosmos noticed an increase of the previous leak rate to 2 pounds per day and identified new suspected leak areas in the PRK. Following this observation, Roscosmos made the decision to begin work toward a more extensive inspection and structural repair effort Friday morning. This revised approach involved cutting a bracket to better access an area identified as a possible leak source for further inspection, using a method that could have resulted in elevated risk to the structure in the area. In response, NASA directed the 4 SpaceX Crew 12 members and NASA astronaut Chris Williams, who flew aboard the Soyuz MS-28 spacecraft, to take a heightened safety posture known as a safe haven inside the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft during the procedure. Later Friday morning, Roscosmos paused and did not perform the structural repair work in favor of conducting additional measurements and data assessments, which included inspection of suspected areas of interest and review of areas where sealant was previously applied. NASA strongly supported that decision, and as a result, following that decision, Crew 12 and Williams ended their safe haven activities, returned to normal operations aboard the orbiting laboratory. NASA will continue to work with our Russian partners, along with the rest of the international partners that support the space station, to assess and endure a resolution to this matter. So it basically sounded like, hey, we're going to mess with structural integrity of a segment here to see if we can get to this potential other leak. And NASA's like, the heck you are.
What did I say earlier? Like, what did I
was
say?
gonna say, Max, you talked about you said something about communication a little bit earlier.
And like, look at the language here. So the revised approach involved cutting a bracket to better access an area identified as a possible leak source for further inspection, yada, yada, yada. No, hang on. I lost my train of thought. Stop scrolling, Kevin. Oh, God. Okay.
Called you out.
Oh, God. I lost. Jeez Louise. I'm lost.
They were getting rid of a bracket.
Yes, but there was
the
okay. There was certain language in there. It was okay. So in the third to last line in the middle paragraph here. So using a method that could have resulted in elevated risk to that structure in that area, in response, that's the language used. In response, not working in tandem with a collective decision was made. In response, NASA directed the 4 SpaceX Crew 12 members and NASA astronaut Chris Williams, who flew aboard station at MS-28, to a heightened safety posture. In response. Communication error. Like, what is this? Like, good grief, man.
Yeah. That's also crazy that, first off, second leak in PRK, that's new. There was a leak. I don't know if we knew of a second suspected leak now. Also, I wonder what area it's in that they need to do this extensive inspection and structure repair effort. And also, to cut into a bracket to access the area. What kind of bracket are we talking here?
Never mind the bracket, Sawyer. What are you cutting into it with?
Yeah.
The forces that would impart
what does that
on the
mean?
station.
Are we getting an angle grinder here? Like, what are we talking about? What does cutting into it mean? What does that mean?
Are we talking sparks? Also, what kind of torque would that imply or impart on the actual structure of the station? Yeah. That's an issue depending on what they were going to use for that. Heck, even if you're just using a handsaw, that's still not great back and forth with the station gyros trying to keep everything straight.
At that point, you're putting a frequency of sorts into the actual structure of the station, and pressurized systems hate that. They hate that. Good grief, man.
Yeah, maybe don't do that. Like,
well, Russia didn't care apparently. They're just going to, and then it's like, yeah, fine, you do that. We're gonna get ready in case you mess things up, and then finally they're like, okay, maybe we wait. So that's wild.
Yeah, dude. Like, here's the thing. I'm gonna go ahead and bet that what they were doing probably isn't too bad. Like, I know it sounds crazy, angle grinder, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure they have the right cutting tools for the job up there, et cetera, right? But, why would you not tell NASA or any of the international partners that you were doing this is kind of beyond me. Like, did you not see this thing to fix a leak rate on your station as a thing that you should be talking about? Like, it's not like, oh, well, the Russians have their side and we have ours, like, and we're on our side of the fort. Like, any depressurization, we were talking about this earlier, any depressurization in the system it's the rate of leak that's a problem. So the life support systems have to compensate for that. So if there was any potential to increase the leak rate with, and doing it without letting anybody know, right? Like, you're not going to be able to configure your life support systems correctly for it, which is probably why NASA's like, yeah, get in the capsule now. Oh my goodness. Right? Like, why would you not tell them what you were doing? That, like, when it could screw up their ECLS as well. That's very, I mean, Max, I think you nailed it with the communication issue. That's, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, fairing.
Fairing.
This is live, by the way, over on the Space Coast, right by the VAB there. going out for the next Starlink mission, I would imagine.
I think that's Monday morning, I want to say.
Let me check nextspaceflight.com and the Next Spaceflight app. Monday, 6:07 a.m. for Starlink 1035.
Nice.
Man, all of the things are happening right now. Goodness gracious. So that was the update on that. Are we on to Starship now, or is there other breaking news?
I think.
No, there was Amazon Leo got the waiver that they needed to. Like, if you guys want to talk about that. If not, we can move on to Starship.
I mean,
whoa.
yeah.
I'm
so
just reading that
for
now.
those who didn't know, Amazon Leo was supposed to have half of their fleet, which is, I believe it was over 1,300 satellites, in orbit by July of this year. And if not, then they would lose some of the communication bands that they were supposed to have to other people. It turns out, though, that right now the commission's saying that only SpaceX providing broadband from satellite and having a second company could provide more quality of service and affordability to consumers, encouraging Amazon to deploy 50% of the constellation as quickly as possible. They now, it says Amazon will lose priority on communication bands until either March 30th, 2028, or the date at which they deploy 50% of their constellation, whichever happens first. This date could be brought further forward to October 30th of 2027 if Amazon demonstrates it has built the necessary number of satellites to reach the 50% milestone and has procured launches for them. That is an update that you can see there from FCC paperwork. Alex, thank you very much for reading through it quickly. So yeah, that would be 1,616 satellites being 50%, at which point they would then be able to get the, it sounds like that's when the bandwidth priority would go back to them. So yeah, more exciting things happening. Goodness gracious.
Now,
so,
if they can just wave Vulcan to fly with the next constellation or the next batch of Leo satellites.
Well, I mean, next batch will probably launch either Atlas or Arion, so I got that going for you, I guess.
I mean, another bit of news that we don't need to put like anything up for is that the Ariane Space is rolling out their P160 SRBs, the heavier SRBs for Ariane 6 to move these LEO satellites. They're tooling up to move a lot of LEO satellites. Yeah, P160s. Because how fast do you want to go?
Yes.
Oui, monsieur. Oui, monsieur. It is we, it is not yes. What is wrong with you?
We go faster.
We are going to go faster than everyone off the pad. With more
Faster, faster, harder, stronger.
Burger. Nuggets.
Jesus.
Burger.
Also, talking about going
collage.
faster, there's more stuff happening. Goodness gracious. The X-59 also went supersonic. It achieved supersonic speeds for the first time ever today.
Nice.
As part of NASA's Quest mission, which is aimed at getting quieter supersonic travel so that we can have boom supersonic and basically the Concords of the future be quieter and actually fly over land without being disruptive. So that also just got posted a short while ago.
That was just now, dude.
Oh my God. Nice.
That post is basically from a couple hours ago.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I know we're starting to get to Starship, but goodness gracious, everything is happening. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Those are those upgraded boosters, by the way, for Ariane.
Very nice.
It's very nice.
I like.
Really nice.
Yeah, that is VA269. Very nice.
Nice.
Anyway, so I guess Starship. What do we have now? No, something out of Wallops now. The robotic spacecraft for the Swift Boost mission has arrived at Wallops as well.
Pegasus, baby.
Pegasus.
Oh, that flies underneath the L1011 TriStar.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
This is a probe by a company called Catalyst Space that's looking to pioneer mission extension vehicles, and this mission is going to boost the Swift Observatory, and it's launched, as you said, off the L1011, which is cool. And I'm pretty sure this is the last Pegasus launch, which means it's the last time TriStar will fly, which sucks. But
I hope there's like some
mission
kind
is
of
cool.
like media event for this. I really hope there
Yeah.
is, because I will fly out there if I have to catch this.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
EJ, there's an L11 TriStar that you can buy now in Flight Sim in the marketplace.
Ugh.
I think we need to do a
Crap.
stream with it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Don't. My chat. L1011, L1011. No. L1011.
I'll 10-11.
L1011
L1011.
TriStar.
L1011.
Okay.
We'll just call it the TriStar. How about that?
It is the superior trijet to that pile of junk that is the DC-10 MD-11. No, you're not changing my mind. No, I will not elaborate any further. Boom.
Boom.
Anyway, you and I are going to learn how to fly that thing together because it has the full engineer's panel and everything.
Okay.
And they have the livery for the Northrop Grumman Starship delivery one, or the Pegasus delivery one. They have the livery for it.
Can we launch Pegasus with it? Or?
No. I wish. I don't know. We got to write to Inabuilds, the developer, and see what they can do. Anyway, so Starship, obviously, there's everything happening down in Starbase 2, but one thing we also have coming up is the IPO. And so for our next topic, of course, we learned a lot about SpaceX and what's going on in the company as they prepare for their public offering. I just want to point out here, we are focusing only on what we learned from the space side of things. And as a reminder, everything we say here is our personal opinion. It is not the opinions of NSF, and none of what we are about to say is investment advice. We are not giving investment advice as we discuss this. We also highly recommend not taking investment advice from a live stream chat or a comment section as well on this. So just wanted to put that out there. Now, EJ, what do we got that we learned on the space side of things from this IPO announcement?
SpaceX has some big plans with this IPO. Their plans are to drastically scale up AI data center satellites, and a lot of this IPO is to get the funding that they need to bolster spaceflight operations to build out the satellite networks that they need. So a lot of the investment from this IPO is going towards Starship pads and Starship accessories. Starship and Starship accessories.
I was just
Boy,
gonna
I tell
say,
you what.
jeez.
Yeah, it's real good. Really launches up into space. It's really good there. I wish you used propane though. Anyway, sorry. SpaceX plans to build some pretty insane constellations over the next couple of years with this IPO with the IPO and the subsequent seed money. They're really looking to build AI data centers in space, and they are going to essentially use the production lines that they have with Starlink to first bolster out Starlink, B work on Starlink to be a direct to sell and roll out like Starlink, potentially like a Starlink cell phone service, and then from there work on data center satellites and computing power and stuff. Some crazy things of note, guys, that weren't necessarily in this. Presentation is that SpaceX is Anthropic is paying SpaceX $1.25 billion a month to use their compute clusters. And just today, that's actually not in this presentation, Google is paying SpaceX to use their compute clusters $920 million a month, which is over $2 billion in revenue. Like, and I highly doubt the utility bill is that much. Like, just putting it out there. Like, just put it out there. But anyway, they're planning to do some insane scaling, basically based off of what we've seen here. The other cool parts was that they showed like potential revenue applications. Like, a lot of it is, AI might be able to be used for this. Like, Kevin, if you actually show the next slide here, they have a lot of their valuation attributed to 22.7 trillion attributed to enterprise applications, meaning like, we don't know what this AI is going to be good for, but it's going to be good for a lot of things, especially if it's in space. So I'm not a finance guy. I'm not really that much of an investor bro like either. I don't really know what that means, but we did get some disclosures about like how much how much they've been spending on Starbase. And in 2024, it was $1.8 billion. In 2025, they spent $3 billion on bolstering out the Starship and Starbase program. And I would expect that number to just keep going up, which is pretty insane. It's the first time we've had like full concrete numbers about how much the Starship program has cost. And the crazy part about it is that it's rivaling like government spaceflight programs. Like this is SpaceX is, yeah, this is like not Apollo program numbers, but it's like almost current NASA numbers. It's close. Like Starship is close to SLS, in terms of funding at this point. The whole Starship program, like if you're taking into account total cost involved, like not total cost spent, right? Total cost involved, like on a year-to-year basis, it's pretty crazy. And I would only expect that number to go up because Starship is, well, I was about to say Starship is a way more complicated vehicle, but I suppose you could make the argument that SLS is pretty complicated, but Starship is fully reusable, so I'll call it more complicated, and we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, pretty crazy. That I see a lot of people who don't like SLS, over my time on the internet saying like, oh, can you imagine if SpaceX had that budget? Can you imagine if they had that budget? Well, they do now. They do. Everybody says like, why are we funding SLS? Can you imagine if SpaceX had that money? Well, they do. They have it, and they have way more than it. And if this IPO goes the way Elon wants, they're going to have even more. If this IPO does what they wanted to do and Starlink prove out Starlink and do the data center thing the way they wanted to do, they'll make NASA's budget look stupid, that's a weird thought, but also here we are. That's absolutely insane to me. But yeah, SpaceX IPO is going to go live on the 12th. Like, guys, this is what I wanted to poise to you. Like, look, $3 billion a year is no joke. That's no joke for any space flight. That's great. That's great for SLS. That would be great for Falcon. That's great for Starship. I mean, if they, let's say that it's fixed over the next couple of years, that they just keep funding it to the tune of $3 billion a year. Do you think that's enough to make Starship do what Elon says it's going to do? Like that 1 hour turnaround time stuff?
I mean, we're still a few years out from where that could even really be a conceivable reality, similar to how 5 years ago it was difficult to imagine Falcon 9 flying every 2 to 4 days, like it was during its peak, right? And obviously, flying on a near hourly basis is way more intense than flying every 2 to 4 days, like Falcon did. Not to mention the actual size and complexity of the launch vehicle involved. Well, one other thing to consider with these costs is you're not just building the rocket. You are building the stuff to build the rocket. You are building the stuff to build the things the rocket wants to fly, and you're also building multiple launch sites then as well. They want to fly Starship from here. They're going to fly Starship from Florida. They're obviously flying Starship from Starbase. They want to fly Starship from Louisiana. They want to build an entirely new site that dwarfs Starbase by comparison in terms of square footage, right? That is going to cost a crap ton of money, and that's that's one of the most exciting, but also kind of like wow, like just like it makes you take a step back, just considering the scale of finance and engineering involved here, because like it's difficult for a lot of people to think about that and just what this really means and how it compares to other things, but Starship, they're putting all bets in on Starship right now, and I think to make Starship do what they want it to do, I think they have to. So, especially with the timeline that they want to achieve all of this in.
So you think that they can do it? You think that that's enough money?
It's probably going to go up like a lot more considering how much more well considering how much more they want to build. I think $3 billion is like that, like $3 billion, like that just covered, from what we can tell, Starbase in Florida. I mean, obviously they want to scale up Starbase, and they want to scale up massively here at KSC and Cape, and obviously they still have to build the site in the bayou in Louisiana. Not to mention point to point terrestrial travel. Chris Bergen's
Hey, Chris
happy.
Bergen happy noises.
Yorkshire.
And also, not to mention an older render of Starship there, which is kind of lame. But anyway, yeah, dude, it's going to cost a crap ton of money to do what to make Starship do what SpaceX wants it to do. But Starship, I think you were saying this before we went live, EJ. I think Starship is an inevitability, and SpaceX wants to get it to where it to get it to a deliverable state as quick as possible.
Dude, I was discussing this on stream. I mean, Sawyer, do you think that, dude, Starship's basically rolling around in SLS value, like amounts of money at this point. Like, I think this is enough to make a fully reusable system, right, and make it work. I think this is close. What do you think?
I mean, here's the difference. SLS is shuttle derived. Everything from it is shuttle derived. Going back to all of the trying to reuse as much hardware as possible. And they're reusing hardware with that budget from years and years ago. This is SpaceX now with the same budget, but everything is from scratch. It's everything they've designed. They are not using any heritage from other programs that they were forced to use. Any heritage that they did use, let's say they learned from Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, just happens to be incorporated because it works, not because they were required by Congress to do so. I think that is what SpaceX really has going for it now with this large of a budget, is the fact that they're making their own way. They know what works best for them. They can design what works best for them. And if something isn't working, they can redesign it how they see fit. I think that is why it is almost scary to see what SpaceX is going to be able to do with that large of a budget and all of their own engineers and their own designs going forward.
And that's before we even consider the fact that maybe they want to launch Starship elsewhere in the world too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, guys, there's all kinds of crazy tech in this thing. The other thing is the Starfall project. SpaceX is looking at on-orbit manufacturing and re-entry vehicles to bring stuff made in space down quickly. And so Starfall is basically like, it's just a heat shield with like kind of just a small like payload volume behind it. And we were looking at the numbers, right? The size of the Starfall heat shield over on my stream, it's about 3 meters wide and 0.75 meter tall. And that is enough to fit out the Starlink Pez dispenser, actually too wide. So too wide and too deep because there's 2 stacks of them. Like, dude, they clearly have some crazy business model here planned out. I don't know if they're going to do it, but I definitely think they have enough to at least make Starship like fully reusable as you know they're intending. But yeah, Starfall's nuts, dude. Yeah, they're going to be just deployed like Pez dispensers like that. Okay, Starship deploy. Wait, a reusable vehicle deploying, multiple re-entry vehicles. I'm pretty sure I heard this story from Buran in the late 80s.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, that's weird. If you guys want a little history lesson, look up the BOR-4 re-entry vehicle from the Soviet Union. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
That was a throwback I haven't heard of in forever. My goodness, it like awoke some old sparks back there.
Yep, that's my job.
Gosh. But yeah, I mean, they've got a path going forward. I mean, of course, a lot of it is emphasizing on the AI infrastructure, like you talked about. But I think the good thing, as much as I'm, hesitant to just see what they're doing with that, the good thing about it is that means that they are going to be beefing up Starship to deliver a lot more payload with a lot more frequency and potentially larger and heavier payloads than we've ever seen before. And sure, while a lot of it is going to be focused on XAI related stuff, just imagine the science that it could launch. Imagine the space stations it could launch. Imagine the Mars missions that it can launch by being able to beef up your infrastructure, even if the goal is for it to deploy one thing. Imagine all the other stuff it can do. I mean, Falcon 9, sure, a lot of it's deploying Starship or Starlinks. Goodness gracious, too many stars. But I mean, just look what it's been able to do since. The payloads that it's been able to launch, and, all of the non-vehicle agnostic payloads that can switch over to Falcon 9 if, say, hey, Vulcan isn't working, or hey, Amazon Leo satellites need a vehicle that isn't going to blow up to launch on them. That's going to become Starship. The ability of, hey, you need something super big, super heavy lifted, we can squeeze you in between XAI launches, and the science that can be gained from that. Oh my gosh, I'm salivating over it.
I can't wait for the NASA Science Starship missions. Like, that's going to be freaking epic, man.
Let's go.
Guys, all right.
I'm hyped.
Let me put it to you like this. You guys know I like SLS, and I'm a pretty hardcore SLS
I couldn't
advocate.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I know. If Starship gets to the point where it's $1 million a launch, NASA should move to just procure the Starship launch site at 39A, and buy like 3 or 4 super heavies and like 10 Starships, and just do the missions that way. The government isn't going to engineer a pickup truck, right? They'll buy one from Ford or Chevy, right? If we're at that point where we're talking about Starlink or Starship airframes that like it can launch every month or like every couple hours or something, and we're talking to the point where Starship is mass produced, you should just procure it like every other object and then operate it themselves. Like the heck with other launch vehicles. Like, that makes no sense at that point. And I think that's why people are advocates for Starship. But dude, when it gets to that point, that's when we should consider being like, okay, we're using this rocket that has shuttle derived technology that's like a century old at this point. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Like, maybe we shouldn't. Yeah. But yeah, there's Starfall, dude. They launched them basically inside of like a satellite, modified like Starlink Pez dispenser. Dude, it's wild stuff. They got some wild stuff planned.
Here's the thing. I hope with the money that will come in that we see it sooner than later, because obviously my concern with things like this is that they look amazing on paper. The space shuttle looked amazing on paper, but it did not meet that flight cadence that it was supposed to execute. I mean, if we're talking 1 flight an hour here, obviously that is an absolutely absurd cadence to try and hit. And hopefully this will speed it up because, again, you don't have a lot of that governmental red tape to go with it, but now you have other kinds of red tape dealing with, all of the other people that you have to answer to. I don't know. I think once we see the hardware up and running, that's when it's going to get really exciting. Hopefully this means that Starships moves faster, especially as we go faster towards Flight 13, whenever that may be, for the next flight of Starship out of Starbase, and hopefully getting to finally seeing Starship hardware arrive at and fly from Florida this year, if all goes well. Which I guess, given that we're getting close to twist time, we should probably talk about where we're at currently with Starship and Flight 13, because we're seeing hardware starting to roll around for that next flight and head over to Massey's for testing.
Yep, Booster 20 rolled out, and it rolled out to Massey's for cryo testing. So, Ship 40 is just around the corner. So we got Booster 20, Ship 40, or Ship 20 Booster, or Ship 40 Booster 20. What do we want to call it? 4020 is people. I think the internet will like that better, Sawyer, huh?
I mean, it sounds like this site we're talking about like cuts of meat. Where, are you using 80-20 for your spaceship or 90-10? Do you want more lean or more fat?
I mean, 85-15 is usually where I get in there. Like, you cook that out nice and medium rare.
And I got 80-20 defrosting for me to make burgers later. But still, besides the point.
Hey,
for this,
that's good. That's good.
I mean, yeah, I'm excited that we're finally getting close again. And hopefully, speed-wise, I mean, this is already pretty quick to go from, hey, here's where we were with Flight 12 just a couple weeks ago, which went amazingly successful on the ship side of things, and the booster launch part, for the most part, worked. Obviously, you had the ship losing an engine, but it still made it into an orbit. You had the booster having the issues with the boost back. But things that seem to be readily fixable for this next flight, and now the fact that they already have Booster 20 rolling out, I mean, that's pretty big in terms of speed here.
But what's not big in terms of speed is how often that freaking SBM, or how often those SBMTs seem to break down last night.
Yes,
like it has to be said. It took like apparently it took like what 7-ish hours to get Booster 20 from the Rocket Garden over to Massey's. Like, that should normally take like an hour and a half tops.
Oof. Yeah. I do not envy the people that got stuck behind that.
No.
That sucks.
That does suck.
Oh, man.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
but we-
Also glad that we didn't do commentary on it for the whole roll.
Oh,
personally.
dude, I had the exact same thought when I woke up this morning. I hate to say it live, but I saw that and I was like, that would have been a fun one to cover.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we had it all on our Starbase Live 24/7 cams, but
Yeah, so it's over at Massey's now. We should be expecting it to perform cryo testing of sorts within the next maybe 2 to 3 days, just based on previous timelines we saw with Booster 19 and all, and also Booster 18 for its brief lifespan. But it doesn't have any engines on it, or it shouldn't, for cryo testing. And then once that is deemed successful, once this test campaign is up, it'll roll back to Mega Bay 1 and get its engines installed and head out to Pad 2 for static fire testing. Assuming that they don't want to do any more crowd testing. Look at that line of cars behind it, dude.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying, dude. That sucks. That's so bad.
That's an entire shift
man.
change.
Yeah. I was gonna say if this happened during a shift change, someone's gonna be pissed.
well, I mean, if that was 7 hours, that's almost an entire shift getting stuff behind it. Just saying.
My heart goes out to anyone who was in that line last night going westbound. Oof.
Man,
Oof.
Highway 4 needs to be widened a lot.
They are widening it. They are.
Yeah.
If only they were about to get an influx of money or something to put into Starbase infrastructure.
Huh.
Hear me out, guys. Hear me out. We make a railroad line that's, as wide as, 2 railroad lines as wide as the SPMTs, and then you just roll them on a railroad track.
No.
I hate that already.
No.
Do you not like
check
trains?
Check out the number on this, by the way, as we're looking at this Raptor 3 rolling out.
Is
Look
this
how high
live?
we're already getting with numbers here.
Nice.
Is this live or is this
This was
clipped?
earlier today, I believe.
Okay.
I think this was I gotta remember if it was 178 or 170.
178, it looks like.
Yeah, 178.
Yeah, 8. Okay. Or 170.
Either way.
Yeah.
Already getting high up in the numbers now for Raptor. 170. There we go. Getting high up for the Raptors coming out
Where's
of
D?
McGregor.
D is not here.
Is that an RD 170?
No.
That was actually really good. I gotta give you props for that one. Both of you. Those were both good.
Oh, okay, cool. Now I will.
Okay, cool, fine.
But yeah, I mean, that's rough for the backlog there. But I mean, I guess we should hopefully see Flight coming soon then. But is there anything that we saw from Flight 12 that you think might push Flight 13 further back?
I mean, they are doing the FAA has deemed that an investigation is necessary for the booster side. So they obviously have to investigate that. They have to clear that before they can fly again. But in the meantime, they can test all they want. We still have yet to see Ship 40 roll out for, oh gosh. We didn't see Ship 40 roll out for, I sound so bad doing this, but it's been a month, guys. Ship 40 hasn't rolled out for cryo yet, has it? I don't think it has.
I don't believe so. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure chat will correct us if we're wrong.
Yes. If it has, and obviously what's next is people are typing in the back channel. S40 is getting engine, so it has crowd already. Got it. So obviously what's next then for Ship is to roll out and perform oh god, Ryan's typing now as well. Oh dear.
Ryan Weber.
Ryan
hey,
Weber,
Mr.
hey.
Optimism. We weren't talking about you earlier. It's fine.
Yeah,
Don't
okay.
rewind.
So Ship 40 just needs to be static fired at this point. And we haven't even really seen much of it beyond that because our views toward Mega Bay 2 are obstructed by this pesky thing we call Gigabay now. So yeah, Ship 40 is getting close, and once a static fire is performed successfully, all the booster has to do at that point is roll back, receive its engine, static fire, and probably more wet dress rehearsal testing with the full stack before Flight 13. But I can see them being ready to fly in mid-July, late July, somewhere in there, maybe early August at the latest. But again, that all depends on when the FAA investigation is cleared from the booster activities from Flight 12. But from the vehicle side and also the pad side, I can see them being ready in a month and a half or so.
Ooh, month and a half. All right, BJ, what do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were wrong. So they cryoed it. They're putting engines on it.
Yep.
Static fire. Booster's going to do cryo. Then they got to put the engines on it, and then they got to do a static. That. Yeah, that's not out of the realm of possibility. But I'll Price is Right you and say 2 months.
Okay, fine. Fair enough.
Well, Price is Right would then be going 1 week, Bob, but still.
Yeah, I did the Price is Wrong. Yeah, I'll Price is Wrong you then.
I
Price
guess
is
1
Wrong,
week Drew
Max.
now, but if you're in Canada, but still.
It's not Drew. It's not that other
Mega
guy.
Bay 1 opening?
It's Bob. All right.
What are they doing in Mega Bay 1? What y'all doing in Mega Bay 1? I'm curious
well, they're
now.
opening the door, obviously.
Are they? Are they, TJ? Are they?
You asked.
Oh my God, grackles. Birds.
Well, we know who's operating that camera then.
3 grackles.
But yeah, I wonder if that was maybe getting to see Booster 21 in there then.
Got it.
And now we're tracking the car,
Kia.
but
that's a Kia Spectra. All right.
Spectra.
And that's a truck.
That was a Sportage, I think. EJ, sorry to correct you. I think it was a Sportage.
No, I don't know Kias, dude. So
that is not Booster 21. That is a grackle.
Look at that. It's at
gone.
least one grackle.
And it's gone.
I gauge. But yeah. So, I mean, I think they're going to go as quick as possible on this.
They have to.
If all they really have to do at this point then is static fire both vehicles as they're actively doing the cryo testing, or the proof testing at least, over at Massey's right now for the booster, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 5 weeks. I'm going to go slightly under there. I'm going to say 5 weeks.
Like we saw how well Pad 2 overall held up.
That too.
During launch. Like it performed like flawlessly isn't the correct word to use there, but Pad 2 held up incredibly well. But again, it's designed to. Like we're past the days of the old circular orbital launch mount ring of Pad 1 that needed multiple weeks, if not months, most often months of refurb in between flights. We're past that now. So I think Pad 2 could be ready for static fire probably in a month. Maybe a little bit longer, and then launch probably in mid to late July. I think I'll hold mid to late July for now.
I would really appreciate it if they launched the next flight on July 20th.
Why July 20th?
Because of the Apollo 11 reference.
No, it'd be even better if they launched on
16th.
July 4th. But
No, July 16th then. If we're going to talk about Apollo launches, launch on the same day as Apollo 11.
yeah, but July 4th, American 250. Like, how poetic.
Yeah, but they won't be allowed to because of the beach closures.
Oh, true. You're right. Dang it. Illusion shattered.
Yeah. Also, remember last year's Flame Trench with all the fireworks and stuff that would go on the
Oh,
beach?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do that if they were launching, so.
So I'll take the 16th, but that means I agree with Max. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn now.
I like that's the reasoning. It's because means I would agree with Max.
Kind of torn now, you know.
Pick your poison, EJ.
I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you because Apollo.
Help.
They don't get that.
People who don't get that don't follow us after sometimes the Flame Trench over on EJ's Twitch. That's what happens then.
There's a whole mess of fun happening over there.
Yes. It's a good
Yeah,
time.
which of course, the important thing though that happens after Flame Trench is This Week in Spaceflight. That's what it really is that we're talking about, which you would watch right here on NSF immediately following this, coming up very shortly. Totally not our Battlefield 6 shenanigans over on EJ's Twitch as well.
Well, we usually wait a little. And I'm not saying this just to watch Twitch. We actually wait a little while because everybody has to eat. So
Yes.
if you don't have anything to do on a Friday night, you watch Twist, then come over and join us. I don't think we're playing tonight, boys. Are we? I don't think we are.
I don't know.
Why wouldn't we?
We haven't talked about that yet, have we?
Oh, all right. Well, we'll talk after.
We'll talk after.
Yeah. We'll also talk about the support that I want to make sure we hit here as well.
Yeah, we should.
As we check out Booster 21 there. That's what we were talking about before with all of the grackle distraction. Fluffy saying 6 Atlases for a capsule that will never fly again. Ouch.
Ouch.
Wait, I thought it was 7.
No, stop it.
No,
Stop it.
genuinely. No, I'm not trying to
No,
make a.
it's 6.
It is 6.
They're
Okay.
contracted for 6 missions.
Wait,
yes,
wait, wasn't
6
the
operational missions, not including test flights.
wasn't the contract modified to 4 then, and then 6 if deemed worthy or desirable?
I think I was
I'm
still thinking that was including the other crude one from
I'm blanking completely.
CFT.
Okay.
All right, 6. Wilbo Bag is saying EJ knows, he rants, I listen. I like it. I mean, yeah. Jeff Rowe, how can we realistically think it will ever get to 1 flight an hour when it takes all day for 1 launch? Time will tell.
Gotta start somewhere.
Telstar 86, all work supported by SCARS, Starbase Crane and Rail Society. Ask your local representative to join.
I want to know how I got these scars.
And Maxstar, thank you very much for the support as well. Well, we are coming up on that twist time here, so might as well thank the people who are here with us before we move on to Alicia and the actual serious news going on this week at Spaceflight. I guess, EJ, you're above me. We'll start there. So, EJ, thank you for joining.
Yeah. Thank you for having. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, thanks for having me here, guys. I know it's a privilege being on here, and I try to get words right and not mispronounce sputtering with stuttering, but you know what, whatever, it's fine. No, thank you. Generally, I do stream over on Twitch. We do have some fun there, and we do play Battlefield on Friday nights sometime, but we usually do it after Twist, like legitimately. I'm not sure if we're going to be playing tonight. I might have some stuff to do, but yeah, thank you for having me here. It's always fun. I always love coming in here and talking about space.
I mean, that's why we're here. Otherwise, we'd be talking with ourselves about it.
I do that too.
Yeah. Max, thank you
anybody.
for joining as well.
Pleasure as always, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to hang out with us. I know it was a bit spicy tonight, but it's the Flame Trench with the usual crew. What are you going to do? What else is new? But thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we will see you all again very soon.
Yeah. Apologies, I was super spicy today, too. I don't know what is with me, but it's a Friday, I guess, and that's the fun of the Flame Trench. Also fun is we can't do what we do without the support of our members, and in particular, the highest level of support that you see on your screen there are the launch directors and the flight engineers. Without you, we really couldn't do what we do and provide all the views and do all the amazing work that our photographers do out in the field, and videographers and people keeping the networks running and all of that. So thank you very much for that. Speaking of keeping things running, also a thank you to Kevin Michael Reed for keeping things running on this episode of The Flame Trench by producing. This was Flame Trench episode 99. What do you think we should do for episode 100? Once this is recorded, let us know in the video comments what you think would be a cool surprise for episode 100. But I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I've been your host for this episode of The Flame Trench. Now let's all get together and go watch This Week in Spaceflight. Have a good one.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Following up.
Did he just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Okay, we're back. Oh, and I haven't fixed the camera. Oh, geez. There we go. All right, guys. I'm gonna spend the night with Bray. Yeah, just want to make sure she's good. You know, considering what happened yesterday. So, yeah, no late night Battlefield tonight. I wanted to, but yeah, no. We're gonna go. I'll be back on Monday. Same time, same place. I do have another dentist appointment on Monday, so I'm gonna say the start time's probably gonna be around 1 or 2 again. But yeah, we're slowly getting back into the groove here, and I'll have us dialed in sooner rather than later. But thanks. A good night. Have a good weekend. Yeah, but yeah, don't worry. We'll keep doing space newses, and then we'll iterate. We'll just start throwing more games in, like we played Cities the other day, which is great. Yeah. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll be honest. Thank you for bearing with me. It's been tough. It's been tough for me because, like, you got to be here in this business, but she comes first. Like, that's it, man. That's how it rolls. That's it. So yeah, I appreciate you guys bearing with me. Thank you very much. I absolutely 100% mean that. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll see you guys all on Monday. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.